The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and Your Sports Network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow alone. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
Oh, what's going on? It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com, presented by the good folks at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. If you're in a market for a new or used automobile, you definitely need to make a trip to Austintown and go see Greg Greenwood and the fellas and ladies at Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. As I have said many, many times, in order to have a great automobile dealership business, you must have three qualities. You got to have a sales department, you got to have a finance department, and you got to have a service department. And Greenwood Chevrolet has all three, and all three of them are quite good, which is the reason why Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown is a really, really good place to purchase a new or used automobile. And we certainly thank the folks at Greenwood Chevrolet for jumping on board and being a sponsor of Running Point Monday through Friday, noon to 3 on ysnlive.com. Coming up on the show today, we will hear... Yeah, I got my Notre Dame stuff. I got my Notre Dame football sweatshirt on. I mean, it's getting a little chilly as we are now on the extreme tail end of Indian summer, and now we're going to get back to the normal crappy fall weather that just sucks beyond belief. And then it gets to snowing, and then you're really going to be crabby. Neither here nor there. Coming up at 12:20, we will hear from Brian Driscoll. He does a fantastic job covering Notre Dame. You can read his work, irishbreakdown.com, IRISHBREAKDOWN. My spelling knows no boundaries. That Leetonia education. irishbreakdown.com. Brian Driscoll will be calling in on the MP Vivo heating and air conditioning hotline at about 12:20. At 1 o'clock today, we will hear from Brian Tolnar. Brian Tolnar runs Mill Creek, and again, the weather's been unbelievably gorgeous the last few days. Now, it rained last night, and it's kind of spitting, kind of cruddy rain that's a real pain in the backside, especially if you're driving, because you can't put the wipers on all the time, but you can't put the wipers on, intermittently. You just gotta you gotta put them on, take them off, wait about 5 minutes, put them on again. It's just a pain in the backside, the drizzle that's going on right now. Anyway. The weather up to last night, absolutely gorgeous. And I am sure that Brian Tolnar and the good folks at Mill Creek were raking in the do-re-mi with everyone trying to squeeze the last drop out of golfing season in 2020. Not that there isn't going to be ample time to do some more golf, because even though the weather is going to scale back temperature-wise, I mean, it's still going to be nice. I mean, low mid-50s during the day, I'll take it. I mean, how many people go out and go golfing low mid-50s when it's March? There's no difference whether it's low to mid 50s in November or low to mid 50s in March. I mean, as long as there's no snow on the ground and the course is in pretty decent shape, hey, why not? So I'm sure there's going to be more people that are going to be golfing as we get closer and closer to Thanksgiving and then break into the Christmas and Hanukkah season, as we always do. But Brian Tolnar will be joining us at 1 o'clock. I can't believe that I'm saying this, but it's really weird. It's Masters Week. And I got to be honest, and this is going to sound really bad, I really don't give a crap about the Masters this week. I don't know why. And maybe it's because it's not where it's normally supposed to be. This is kind of the kind of someone that would not be in the holiday season, not be in the Christmas season or whatever. I mean, when you start counting down the days, it's kind of paramount to that. Although I don't necessarily want to compare a golfing event to an important event like Christmas, but it's weird for me that normally, I'm all about the Masters tournament. Now, I'm not really all that enamored with the whole, this is the greatest golf course in the history of mankind. I'll take Pebble Beach over Augusta any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But the Masters tournament, please. I mean, it's there. It's one of the prestigious golfing events. And yet here I am, it's Masters Week, and I'm like, who cares? It just doesn't feel like a Masters Week. So maybe I can get into the spirit. Maybe Brian Tolnar can help me get into the spirit of Masters Week. And I should be fired up. I mean, let's be honest here for a second. Jason Kokrak is in the Masters. Jason Kokrak represents the Mahoning Valley. Warren JFK graduate. He's won on the PGA Tour this year, which means he'll go back to Augusta next year. The reason why he's at Augusta this year was because he finished in the top 30 in the FedEx points last year, which automatically gives him a berth in the 2020 Masters. And he's in the Masters tournament. And I got to be honest with you. If Jason is able to play his game, this course is built for Jason Kokrak. It really is. And if he isn't overly nervous about golfing at Augusta, I think Jason Kokrak is going to be a player this weekend. Now, I don't know if he's going to win the event. Look, probably not. But I could definitely not only see him making the cut, I can definitely see him finishing in the top 20 in the Masters this year. So we'll talk about that with Brian Tolnar at 1 o'clock, and hopefully he can spread some Masters stuff to get me into the spirit, because I got to be honest, even with Jason Kokrak in his first Masters appearance, I'm just not feeling it right now. Maybe it's because of the fact that here we are in November, and the golf season should probably be over. All of the majors should be done. And here we are in November, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, that's right. Masters is this week. Okay. I got to get back into the Masters spirit. Seriously. So we'll talk with Brian Tolnar at 1 o'clock. John Vargo from The Vindicator and the Tribune Chronicle will be calling in at 2 o'clock. You might think he'll definitely talk some YSU men's and women's basketball, because he is the beat reporter for YSU men's and women's basketball. But you can bet your bottom dollar that John Vargo will be talking an awful lot about the Division III the Division III state semifinal boys soccer game between Cardinal Mooney and Toledo Ottawa Hills, because his son, he's the goalie for the Cardinal Mooney soccer team. And you can bet your bottom dollar that he's going to be a proud papa over at Mansfield High School tonight at 7 o'clock, hopefully watching Cardinal Mooney go into the state championship game with a victory over Toledo Ottawa Hills. That game starts at 7 o'clock for Mansfield High School. And again, best of luck to Cardinal Mooney in the D3 state semifinals. Also, best of luck to Howland. They're in the state semifinals as well. Howland taking on Lima Shawnee. Howland is 20 wins, no losses, 1 draw. Lima Shawnee 17 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. That game is going to be played at Lexington High School. It will start at 7 p.m., and that is a neutral field, obviously, but you got to go, and there's a long-ass distance between Warren, Ohio, and Lima, Ohio. Lima is on the western part of the state, out by Ada, which is the home of not only Ohio Northern University. Ada, Ohio is also the home of where the footballs for the National Football League are made. Yeah, there's a factory. The Wilson Factory is in Ada, and they specialize in making the footballs for the National Football League. Bet you didn't know that. And if you did, congratulations. Howland will be taking on Lima Shawnee tonight at 7 o'clock at Lexington High School. And again, Cardinal Mooney will be playing Toledo Ottawa Hills tonight from Mansfield. Both of those soccer games will start at 7 o'clock. Best of luck to Howland as well as Cardinal Mooney. We made mention the Masters starts tomorrow. I don't know if anyone saw the ridiculous hole-in-one that was made yesterday in practice. It was a par 3, and you had to shoot the ball over a body of water. And I'm not sure if it was John. I'm not sure who the golfer was. But the golfer, instead of shooting the ball over the body of water onto the green, this particular golfer took out a club and proceeded to hit a line drive that skipped all across the body of water. Took about 3 skips across the body of water, jumped out of the water, rolled onto the green, and then rolled all the way into the cup. A hole-in-one. Via what, and I can only equate this to when people were younger, and hopefully people were able to do this. You grab a rock when you're in a lake or in a body of water. You grab a rock, and preferably a smooth, one of those smooth-edged rocks, and you throw sidearm, and you watch the rock skit across the lake, skim the lake, like about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shots, and then it falls into the lake. Well, instead of the golf ball going into the lake, the ball was hit so hard it skimmed 3 or 4 times across this body of water, jumped up, rolled to the green, and then rolled all the way down to the cup. It was unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. And I'd love to see that in the tournament because it would be legal. I mean, it certainly would be legal. And it was phenomenal to see. And someone had the foresight to roll some film, and they got this. It was an absolutely incredible shot. And again, that was yesterday during practice. So tomorrow the Masters starts, and we'll talk about the Masters. We'll get Brian Tolnar's pick for the week, and we'll also get his tip of the week as well. All right, it's a Wednesday edition of Running Points, and as I mentioned, Brian Driscoll. We'll talk Notre Dame with Brian Driscoll. Irish coming off perhaps their best win in a long, long time against number 1 Clemson from South Bend on Saturday night. We'll talk about the game. And look, I said this, and I've been saying this all week long. Now, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. Everyone knows this. But I'm also not going to sit here and tell everyone, oh yeah, at Notre Dame they're on their way. They're now going to go steamroll everybody. Look, I'm not going to pee down someone's leg and tell you it's raining. It's not going to happen. Notre Dame beat Clemson without their starting quarterback and without 3 of their starting defensive players. Don't get me wrong. I'm thrilled beyond belief that Notre Dame won the game. I kind of wish that Notre Dame had won the game in regulation and not frittered away 2 double-digit leads, but neither here nor there. A win's a win. But I ain't going to sit here and tell you that they beat number 1 Clemson. Oh, they did, but number 1 Clemson didn't exactly have the entire arsenal. And like I said, I'm good with the win. I'm happy with the win. I'm excited for Notre Dame. They needed the win far more than Clemson did, because looking at Notre Dame's schedule, you could see Notre Dame stumbling in one of these last 4 games. Now, it may or may not happen. With Clemson, the only game that really is up for grabs is the road game at Virginia Tech, and that's only if Virginia Tech wins out up to that point, because if they do, now you're looking at the possibility of Clemson not even getting into the ACC title game. Because if Clemson were to lose in Blacksburg on a Saturday night to Virginia Tech and Clemson would both have 2 losses. The head-to-head goes to Virginia Tech, and Clemson, they're not in the ACC championship game. Now, is that going to happen? Probably not. Looks like Clemson will probably run the table, especially if Trevor Lawrence and the defensive players get back into it. But Notre Dame needed that victory far more than Clemson did, because Notre Dame has a little bit more difficult of a schedule, even though both teams are in the ACC. And both teams are playing ACC teams. So we'll talk with Brian Driscoll about that coming up in a few minutes. As we mentioned, Brian Tolnar will preview the Masters and let everyone know what's going on at Mill Creek at 1 o'clock. John Vargo from the Vindicator and the Tribune Chronicle will talk YSU men's and women's basketball. We will also talk Cardinal Mooney soccer, as John's son is the goalie, and, well, we got the state semifinals tonight. Cardinal Mooney taking on Toledo Ottawa Hills. Welcome into a Wednesday edition of Running Point. We'll take a timeout, be back with our first guest, Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. He'll be joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. That's coming up after this. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown.
telling more local stories
We'll look at
Baby
efforts
boy
to
is
curb
recovering from a broken.
around our
Good
valley.
afternoon. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect
It's important for everyone.
No place like home.
more local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
I went to Greenwood
Chevrolet because I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Saturday night, Notre Dame knocked off number 1 Clemson in double overtime Saturday, and Notre Dame, they're now number 2 in the country, and they're undefeated, and they got 4 games left, and Notre Dame looks to be in the catbird seats for the ACC playoffs. And to talk a little bit about that, we bring in our Notre Dame guru from IrishBreakdown.com, Brian Driscoll, joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Brian, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. You know, it's always a good week after a Notre Dame win.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Now, I'll tell you, they choked away 2 double-digit leads, and I got a little nervous in the fourth quarter, especially when Uiagalelei, who was absolutely incredible for Clemson, he was starting to get some stuff down because Etienne only got 28 yards rushing on 18 carries. Notre Dame did an amazing job, and consider this. You take away his 13-yard run, which was his longest run. Now you're looking at 17 carries, 15 yards. They completely shut down the run game of Clemson, but Uiagalelei was woof. That kid's going to be special, and when he was doing his thing, I got a little nervous, but Notre Dame was able to get the tying touchdown late. They trade touchdowns in the first overtime. Notre Dame gets the ball to start the second overtime. They score a TD, and then the defense put the clamps on Clemson. Game over.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the game plan, right? And you know, there's obviously a lot of emphasis on the passing yards that DJ put up in the game, but the reality is there were a lot of plays that he did not make that I think a more experienced quarterback would have made on third down. You know, Clemson was by far their worst third down performance of the season. And then I think you look at overtime. I don't see any scenario in which Trevor Lawrence takes back-to-back sacks in overtime. You know, but that was the whole point. It was make the freshman beat you. And as good as he was, as productive as he was, he couldn't beat him. You know, there was just not enough opportunities for him to make the plays you needed to make. And that's why it was so important to shut down Travis Etienne. And to your point, his longest run was 13 yards. His first carry of the game went for 10 yards. So that means on his other 16 carries, he gained 5 yards. You know, that wasn't just keeping him in check. That was a total domination. And it's something we've seen from this run defense for a while. But, you know, look, Ron, you and I both know you go back to the Miami game in 1988, the Florida State game in 1993. When you're playing a great team, when you're playing a champion team, they're not going to quit. You know, you can get up on a 23-10. They're going to keep fighting. You know, you can do whatever you need to do on them, but the fact is they're not going to go away. It's going to be a dogfight for 60 minutes, and in the case of Clemson on Saturday, 60 minutes and then some. But Notre Dame stuck through it and made the plays they needed to make. And I'll be honest, Ron, I thought there's still a lot of room for this team to play better. I thought there was a lot of unforced errors on Saturday, and that's a good sign for Notre Dame. If you can beat a team like Clemson and look at it and say, yeah, there's a lot of stuff we got to clean up, that's a place you want to be as a football coach.
One of the things that put a smile on my face, one of the many things, unlike a couple of years ago when Ian Book just refused to throw the ball down the field because he wasn't very confident in that national semifinal game against Clemson a few years back. Ian Book had no problems throwing the ball down the field Saturday nights in the victory, and I'll tell you what, this kid has grown up. He's grown up an awful lot, and 22 of 39, 310 yards. He threw a touchdown, took a couple of sacks, which, okay, but the big number for me is he didn't throw the ball into the arms of a Clemson defender. No picks. He managed the game really well. And like I said, when he had receivers open down the field, Ian was ready to throw the ball down the field. I thought it was a dynamite performance by Ian Book.
It was. And look, I still say there's things he's got to get better on. Being in the stadium, there was a lot of reads he missed. You cannot fumble the ball going into the end zone. So, no, he didn't turn it over from an interception standpoint, but that fumble into the end zone was almost a backbreaker. But here's the thing for me is there's two things I like. Number one is when he wasn't throwing the ball downfield in this game, the mistakes he made were mistakes that, to me, Ron, were based on him just not getting there in the progression. It wasn't an unwillingness to throw the ball like we saw 2 years ago. It wasn't I see it, but I just don't know if I want to get there. It was, hey, he didn't get there through his progression, or he maybe didn't make the right read, but he made plenty of aggressive plays in the game. And even like an example, there was a 3rd and 4 he threw to Tommy Tremble on a drag route. I actually thought it was the wrong read, but he threw it with conviction, and he threw it into a tight spot, and he threw it to where only Tommy Tremble could catch it. And, of course, he did. And those are the things you need to see, Ron, is a quarterback's not going to play a perfect game. He's going to miss reads. He's going to make some mistakes. But you want a guy that's going to battle. And Ian Book battled. And you and I have talked a lot about the 2018 Clemson game. And I've said the turning point of that game was on the second drive. Notre Dame gets the ball at midfield. He's got Miles Boykin open on a post route. All he has to do is climb the pocket, which means step into the pocket, and throw the ball to Miles Boykin on the post route. And if he does that, it's 7-0 Notre Dame. And I'd really be curious how that game would have played out at that point in time. But he didn't make it. He was unwilling to make that throw. Against Clemson, almost the same exact scenario happened. It's now Avery Davis on an inside post route. There's pressure coming from his outside. He had to climb the pocket, and now it's do or die. You either have the guts to make the throw or you don't, and he had the guts to make the throw. And he did it, and next thing you know, Notre Dame's in the red zone, and they go down to tie the game. So those are the things you like to see, and now the next step is, can you now do it week after week after week, and that's the final piece to the Ian Book puzzle.
Kyron Williams, 23 carries, $140. Now, in fairness, we got to do the same thing that we did with ETN. 65 of those yards coming on his first carry when the Red Sea was parted, and he was able to score untouched from 65 yards out. Now, you take that away, 75 yards rushing the rest of the night on 22 carries, which isn't great, but it isn't bad. But he was moving the chains. He scored 3 touchdowns. He's a guy that you can depend on, and Notre Dame ran for 209 yards, and you got to give credit to the offensive line. I thought Notre Dame's offensive line run blocking was pretty damn special Saturday night.
It was tremendous, and especially when you consider, let's put some context into those 75 yards after the long touchdown run. Clemson's entire game plan was, we're not going to let you beat us running the football. And Notre Dame was still able to grind out those tough yards. When they got inside into goal line situations, they were able to pound the ball in. Even though Clemson was gearing everything towards stopping it, Clemson was basically going to say, if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to beat us Ian Book and Javon McKinley and Avery Davis and Ben Skoranek. And Notre Dame said, okay, we will. But the big thing for me was just to watch Notre Dame push Clemson around the entire game was really fun to watch. That, to me, when you just look at this game and you look at how Notre Dame, in my opinion, dominated the trenches on both sides of the ball, this was as close to what we've seen as a Lou Holtz era win as we've seen under Brian Kelly. To be able to just dominate in that way, and that kind of says, maybe this team does have a little something different. And you talk about Kyron Williams running. I don't really care to talk much about his running. I think his biggest impact in the game was his pass blocking, whether it was the 53-yard post route to Avery Davis where he had to step up and take on a blitzer, the back shoulder early to Javon McKinley. There was another deep throw that he hit, and every single time Kyron Williams had to step up, take on a blitzer, and take him out aggressively, and that gave Ian Book time and room to go. And so, yeah, the running game was important, but if he doesn't do that, then Notre Dame doesn't win this game. And that was just kind of that strong all-around performance. Ron, there were so many guys that just stepped up and said, hey, I got to have the game of my career, and I'm going to do it, whether it was Book, Javon McKinley, Avery Davis, Kyron Williams, and there were guys on defense as well. Again, that just tells me that this team, attitude-wise, has a little something different, that in the biggest game of the year, they all said, hey, I got to step up, and to a man, they did.
Well, we talked a little bit about this prior to the game, that Notre Dame needed this game a little bit more than Clemson did, based on the fact that Notre Dame's schedule is a little more difficult within the ACC than Clemson's game is. Now, obviously, Notre Dame gets the victory. You've got 4 more games. Clearly, Notre Dame is in the catbird seat where they will, in all likelihood, be in the ACC title game. You want to go one day at a time, but there's a really good chance Notre Dame is in the ACC title game. You look at Clemson, and Clemson should have clean sailing all the way to Virginia Tech, which 2 games because they're off this week. That Virginia Tech game, though, it's in Blacksburg, and you don't know if Virginia Tech is going to remain a team with 2 losses. Assuming that they do, Brian, this game could be a lot more difficult for Clemson than what people think, because let's be honest, if Virginia Tech were to win the rest of their games this year, then they essentially knock Clemson not only out of playoff contention, they also knock them out of the national or out of the ACC title game as well.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, that scenario could play out. For me, however, I remember it was 2017 when Ohio State went on the road and played Iowa and got beat.
Yeah.
And I remember I said to a buddy of mine after the game, I said, I feel bad for whoever they're playing next week. And it didn't matter. And they ended up playing a really good Michigan State team and annihilated them. I feel really bad for who Clemson has to play the rest of this regular season, because we know this team. We know how they're going to respond to this loss, and it's going to be with a lot of anger. And what you don't want is you don't want a pissed-off Clemson team. And this is going to be a pissed-off Clemson team, and they're going to get Trevor Lawrence back. So, yes, all the things you said are true. To me, Virginia Tech doesn't have the defense to stop Clemson. And that's the thing, is what Notre Dame was able to do that BC couldn't do, and we've seen other teams that have given Clemson close games, is Notre Dame could make stops when they needed to make stops late in the game. Virginia Tech's not going to be able to make those stops. Their defense is not good. And I don't know if Virginia Tech is also very one-dimensional on offense. They're a great running team. But if you can slow down their run game and make them beat you throwing the football, it's just not who they are. So while technically I think you're right, that is true, I just don't see it. I think Clemson is going to absolutely annihilate the rest of the teams they play the rest of the way. That's just, to me, what great teams do when they get upset, is they dig deep and say, we're going to take it out on the next group of teams that we play.
Yeah, we will say a prayer for Florida State. That's the team that Clemson plays next. And here's the thing.
It's going to get ugly.
Yeah, and here's the thing. Clemson has 2 weeks to stew over this loss because they're off this week. So 14 days of anger about to be unleashed in Tallahassee on Saturday, November the 21st. Yeah, that could get really, really ugly. I made mention of this on since Monday. Look, it's a great win for Notre Dame. Make no bones about this. It is a fantastic win, but I got to be fair. It is a win without Trevor Lawrence. It was a win without 3 defensive starters. Now, obviously, the win for Notre Dame, it's huge, because Notre Dame's the rest of their schedule is quite manageable, where Notre Dame could and probably will be undefeated going into the ACC title game. However, when Notre Dame does play Clemson again, or at least we believe they're going to play Clemson again, it's going to be a much, much different Clemson team. Is there – I mean, there's a lot that you can take away with the victory over Clemson. What does Clemson look at in their defeat, and do they hang their hat on, okay, we're going to have our 3 defensive starters back, and we're going to have Trevor Lawrence back, and we'll be at 100%, and we – just are going to completely forget about what happened Saturday night in South Bend?
I think if Clemson didn't, that would be a mistake, because there were things that happened in that game that didn't have anything to do with any of the guys you talked about. For example, they couldn't cover Javon McKinley. They weren't missing anybody that would have to cover Javon McKinley. They had trouble guarding Notre Dame's tight ends. James Skalski is not someone that you're going to want to say, hey, he's back, we're going to put him on Michael Mayer and Tommy Tremble. That would not go well for you as a defense. So do I think Clemson is a better team with Trevor Lawrence? Absolutely. I'm not one of those people that looks at DJ's stats and says, oh, well, Trevor Lawrence would have played better than that. No, or wouldn't have played better than that. Yes, he would have. He would have made some of those third down throws they wouldn't have made. 2 things about that, though, is That's football, right? You don't think Notre Dame would have loved to have had a healthy Braden Lindsey and Kevin Austin in this game against a Clemson secondary that has trouble with speed? Notre Dame had its two most explosive players on offense didn't play either, So I just don't get too much into they didn't have this, they didn't have that. That's football, it's a war of attrition, and Notre Dame handled that better. But the other part too is, Ron, as I said before, this was not like the 2014 Florida State game or the 2005 Notre Dame USC game where Notre Dame just played as well as they could have played. This is a game where I look at it and I think of Jeremiah Wusu had 3 huge missed tackles in this game. You look at Ian Book fumbling into the end zone. You look at mistakes. Michael Mayer dropping what would have been a touchdown. You look at the false start on the second drive, on fourth and 1, and to 2-3 yard line. If you don't make those mistakes, all of a sudden it's 31-10. So Notre Dame, if they would have cleaned up their game, would have won this game far more convincingly. And I think that's something that we've heard Brian Kelly talk about, that, hey, there's a lot of things we got to clean up. And he's right. They did not play the perfect game or anything close to it. What they did is they played with tremendous heart, physicality, toughness. They beat Clemson up. But in the rematch, Brian Kelly's going to focus on, hey, look, we got to obviously match the intensity we brought last time, but we got to play better from an execution standpoint. We got to tackle better. We got to, we can't turn the ball over. We got to be better in the red zone. We got to make sure that we're capitalizing on those opportunities. And if we do that, we can beat this football team. And honestly, Ron, he's right. As we talked about last week, this is not the 2018 Clemson team. It's very good. It's a top 5 team, but it's not that dominant, elite line play group that we saw 2 years ago.
I agree with you 100%. And honestly, I was disappointed Notre Dame didn't win by double digits in regulation, but you got to give Clemson all the credit in the world. I mean, they're an elite program for a lot of reasons, and they proved to be a very, very tough opponent. And I'm sure that if these two teams play again, they'll be a really tough opponent. But I agree with you. I think Notre Dame proved on Saturday that they can hang with Clemson, and that there was more than enough mistakes to where if Notre Dame were to play a, quote, perfect game, which is very rare, but if Notre Dame matches the intensity of Saturday night and they play a cleaner game, they can beat Clemson with a healthy Clemson team. They can beat them.
No question. And honestly, I don't even know if look, for Notre Dame as a team, the players, they want to win the ACC championship. There's no doubt about that. But if we're looking bigger picture, and we're looking getting into the college football playoff, we're talking about competing for the national championship, beating Clemson isn't the end-all, be-all. It's obviously, you write your own ticket if you do that. But if Notre Dame goes and plays Clemson to, let's say a 31-30 game or a 31-27 that looks like the 2014 Florida State game, 2005 USC type of game, then Notre Dame's still in the playoff. That's a given to me because there's not going to be any other teams in the SEC, barring Florida beating Alabama somehow. There's not going to be a bunch of one-loss teams in the SEC. So if Notre Dame has that win over Clemson without Trevor Lawrence, and then they play Clemson basically to a draw with Clemson just making one more play in the SEC title game, then I think Notre Dame is in the playoff. I'm pretty confident in that, the way that they've played. And then they'll also have beat some pretty good teams in November. BC, North Carolina, Wake Forest. So that, to me, is the bigger picture. It just has to be a competitive game. It doesn't necessarily have to be a win, although that would be ideal, but it has to be a competitive game. You can't go into that game and get waxed. And that is the kind of thing that could really just take all the momentum you've gained from this win away.
All right, speaking of BC, that's Notre Dame's next opponent. And when I saw Boston College on the schedule after Clemson, I immediately flashed back to 1993. Here's this Notre Dame team off of great victory, phenomenal victory at home against Florida State University. And then they have to play Boston College. Notre Dame just got done beating the number 1 ranked team. And they play Boston College at Notre Dame Stadium, and lo and behold, Boston College pulls off an unbelievable upset and just completely rips the heart out of Notre Dame. Now, does it happen on Saturday? Well, first of all, the similarity comes to an end. The game is not being played at Notre Dame Stadium. It's going to be played in Chestnut Hill. But there is an interesting little how do you do in this game, and that's the fact that Phil Jurkovec, former Notre Dame quarterback, transferred to Boston College. He's having quite a year for Boston College, and I got to believe there is nothing would suit him better than to beat his old team and give them the first loss of the season.
So the fact of what you just said is why I don't think this is a trap game for Notre Dame. If Boston College had anyone but Phil Jurkovec, the quarterback, I'd say, I'm worried about them overlooking BC. That fact that their former teammate, someone who the players have all said to a man respect, and that's something I've always heard behind the scenes, the players really liked Phil. They respected Phil. I think they're going to be ready for this game. The other thing is, to me, the win over Clemson was more similar to the 88 Miami game than the 93 Florida State game. And here's what I mean by that. Yes, they had to play BC, and the team is the same, but when Notre Dame beat Florida State, all they had left on the schedule was BC. And it was kind of like, well, yeah, of course we're going to win that one. And they were already kind of looking ahead to, playing for the national championship. I really believe that. It was that we've arrived moment. When Notre Dame beat Miami in 1988, they still had like 5 games. So it wasn't a thing where you could say, hey, we've arrived. It was, hey, great win, but we got a lot of football left because we have bigger goals than just, beating Clemson. We have we have ACC championship, we have national championship kind of thing to look at. So I think the 88 Miami game is more of a similar comparison because there's just so much football left. It's a lot harder to kind of say, hey, we've arrived, this is our moment, when you still have, the entire month of November and 2 games in December still left to play. So I think they're going to be ready for this game. It doesn't mean they're going to win, but I think they're going to be ready for this game, and I don't see a scenario in which they come out and kind of sleepwalk through the first 3 quarters like Notre Dame did in 1993 and then finally woke up in the fourth quarter, but it was too little too late. I don't think that's going to happen to this football team. Brian
Driscoll, our guest. Check out his work at irishbreakdown.com, IRISHBREAKDOWN.com. Saw an interesting statistic, and I've gone back to the last 5+ years of BC's schedule since 2015. They have played 16 games against teams that were in the top 25 when BC played them. And in those 16 games in the last 5+ years, dating back to 2015, Boston College is winless. They are 0-16 against top 25 programs in the last 5+ years. So while Boston College, in a couple of years, 3 consecutive years of 7 wins, 2016, 17, and 18, they really haven't gone past that mediocre threshold and into the we're a pretty good team threshold.
Well, and that's why the head coach that was part of those teams is now coaching at Colorado State. I gave Steve Addazio the not-so-kind moniker of 7-win Steve because that's just basically what he was going to do. Whether they started off 5-0 or started off 0-5, they were going to go basically 7-6 every year. That's just who they were. And, and it was because they just didn't have the kind of offense you need. They didn't have the kind of mentality they need. They tried to play a grinded-out style of football when you don't have the horses to beat teams in the top 25 playing grinded-out football. So, this team is a little different. I think this team has a little bit more moxie to it. This team has a little bit more flair to it. When this offense is hot, as we saw against Clemson, they can move the ball on anybody. The problem that this team has is the previous staff didn't recruit well enough for Boston College to really be in a situation where they can go toe-to-toe with a team like Clemson for 60 minutes. They can look good for 2.5 quarters maybe, but not for 60 minutes. They can't do it against Notre Dame. So, and imagine where Boston College would be if Phil Jurkovec didn't transfer there. And that's not the Jalen Gill was a transfer. Their best pass rusher is a guy that transferred from Maine. So if they didn't get the transfers with Jeff Hafley, the first-year coach, they'd be in a really big pickle from a talent standpoint. So they're just not there talent-wise, and they didn't recruit well enough. But this is a team that plays with a lot of confidence. This is a team that's going to play physical, and they're going to give Notre Dame everything they have. I just don't think what they have is good enough to beat Notre Dame unless Notre Dame beats themselves with a bunch of turnovers and missed assignments and things along those lines.
Jeff Hafley comes into this season with no previous head coaching experience. You've had an opportunity to see Boston College. Is he in over his head, or is he a guy that is is going to get the job done. It's just going to take time.
I love what he's done. I mean, I think they're recruiting well. I think their 2021 class is really good. They're already getting some really talented 2022 players. So I think helps when you have a quarterback like Phil Dracovic. All of a sudden, he has 3 or 4 300-yard games to start the season, and all of a sudden they get a commitment from a receiver or a tight end. So I think that's helped too. But I really like the way the team plays. I think they're tough. I think they're gritty. I think we saw against Clemson, they weren't afraid of Clemson. They didn't back down from Clemson at all. They just didn't have the horses to get it done for 60 minutes. So I like how this team competes. I mean, you go to the North Carolina game, which at the time North Carolina was a top 10 team. Clemson didn't quit. They fell behind. They kept battling. Dracovic leads them on a fourth-quarter touchdown drive, throws a touchdown pass with seconds left. They don't get the 2-point conversion, but it was one of those things where I've never seen this team take the field and not play with confidence and not play with toughness. And those are the things that you like to see from a young head coach. Now, he's still learning. I think when we saw against Clemson, we saw it against Pitt, when they get a big lead, they kind of go conservative, which is what a lot of defensive coaches tend to do. He's going to have to learn from those mistakes that, hey, you don't have Clemson and Notre Dame's talent. You can't just run the clock out in the second half. And that cost them against Pitt, almost cost them against Pitt. They blew a double-digit lead in the second half. Pitt tied it up. They ended up winning in overtime, but it made that game closer than they should have. Obviously, they tried. They weren't as aggressive in the third quarter against Clemson, which allowed the Tigers to come back and win that game. So there's some first-year coach mistakes that he's making, but I really like the job overall that he's doing. And I don't think he's going to be at Boston College very long. I think he's going to really get this thing going in these next couple of years, and some bigger program is going to scoop him up.
A lot of kids returning from last year on the defensive side of the ball. Coming into this year, they had 9 returning starters on defense, 6 on offense. They only lost 22 guys total on the team. They're returning 40 players. And this is a team that, as you mentioned, if they get a couple of really good recruiting classes, this could be a lot of fun to watch Boston College play, especially if Dracovic decides to stay at BC through his senior year and he doesn't go to the NFL early.
Yeah, I mean, and he's got 3 years of eligibility remaining. I mean, that's since this year won't count for him. He's basically going to be a redshirt sophomore again next year. So he still could play 3 more years after this. Now, I don't think he's going to, but I'll be shocked if he's not at BC for at least 2 more years. And I think the biggest difference is Jeff Hafley understands in today's football, you got to be able to score points. And so they have an offense that's aggressive. I mean, I had a breakdown this morning where Phil Dracovic has completed something, I think, like 58 passes beyond 10 yards in 8 games. Ian Book has completed 29. Now, that's not to draw a comparison. It's just to draw, put into context just how often they're throwing the ball down the field. There's no way in heck that would have happened under Steve Adazio. And so I think that's the difference. So yeah, you're right. If they can continue recruiting well, and I think they're going to become a place where transfers want to go. You've got a head coach, NFL. He was in the NFL longer than he was in college football. A guy that was a D coordinator at Ohio State. He's going to draw transfers. He's already started to do that. And then you combine that with good recruiting classes from high school players. Yeah, I think he could really get this thing going. And let's be honest, Ron, you make the right hire in the ACC, you can rise quickly because it's not a very deep league. And that's why what we've seen from North Carolina. You make a good hire, all of a sudden you can go from the worst team in the ACC to the second or third best team in the ACC, just like that, with 1 or 2 good recruiting classes and the right head coach. I think BC's done that. Now they need to take that next step.
Well, BC has some talent on offense. I absolutely love Hunter Long. He's the 6'5" tight end, and Kobe White, he's a 6'1" receiver. I don't know if he might be a slot receiver in the NFL, but
Kobe White's actually out. He got hurt earlier in the year, so he's out. But
okay.
Trey Flowers is the guy that's really stepped up to take his place.
Yeah, and Flowers last year, 22 catches, over 300 yards, and he's again 5'11". They really don't have length per se in the receiving core. Although Hunter Long 6'5", he's a good target. And again, this is a team that they don't have as many toys to play with offensively as Notre Dame does, but it's not like the cupboard is completely bare.
Right. C.J. Lewis is kind of a kid that played quarterback in high school, I believe. He's kind of coming along. He's starting to step up. He's he's a guy that has some of that length you talk about, but he's got to be more consistent. They have Jalen Gill, as a lot of Ohio State fans will remember, was a top recruit coming out of high school in Ohio, played at Ohio State, and then, of course, he's transferred to BC. He's starting to come along now, too. So, no, they don't have the weapons that Notre Dame has. They don't have a Javon McKinley, a Tommy Campbell, a Michael Mayer. With all due respect to Hunter Long, he's not those guys. They don't have a Kyron Williams or Chris Tyree in the backfield, but they've got good weapons. And the biggest thing is they know that if they do their job, Jurkovic's going to get them the ball. And you can just kind of see them playing off each other. He's going to put the ball in the tight spots. He's going to give them chances to make plays. And for the most part, they step up and make the plays they needed to make. They didn't do it in the second half against Clemson. They had a couple big drops in the second half. But overall, this is a group of players that's really stepped up. When he gives them chances, they're going to step up and make plays.
Now, they've lost 3 games this year. All 3 games, they were ranked. North Carolina was number 12 at the time. Virginia Tech was 19 at the time, and they lost to then number 1 Clemson. In 2 of the 3 games, they only lost by 1 score. They lost to North Carolina by 4 at home. They lost to Clemson by 6 in Death Valley. The only game they were really blown out in was the 40-14 loss in Blacksburg against Virginia Tech. So, this team has been quite competitive. Now, they haven't blown many teams out. They beat Duke by 20. They struggled to beat Pitt in overtime. They beat Georgia Tech by 21. But the 3 games they lost, 2 of them were in the game.
Well, in the Clemson and North Carolina games, they had the ball at the end of the game with a chance to tie or take the lead in both games. That's all you ask for. Now, the next step is making the plays you need to make in those games. They've done it against Pitt. They did it against Texas State. But against the better teams, they haven't done that, and that's kind of that next step for them. And even the Virginia Tech game, Ron, it was 17-14 in the third quarter. Boston College just kept turning the ball over. So that was one of those anomaly games. To your point, I mean, this is a team that's just not going to quit. This is a team that's not going to back down. If you beat them, you're going to have to beat them. You're going to earn it. And Notre Dame, I think, will. I think Notre Dame has. I really can't point to a single area where I don't view Notre Dame as having a talent and or experience plus size. I mean, there's every advantage you can think of Notre Dame has. Now it's just about executing and getting the job done.
Okay, I got Notre Dame doubling up Boston College Saturday at Chestnut Hill. I got them beating Boston College 34-17. So a 17-point win for Notre Dame at Chestnut Hill as Notre Dame marches on in this undefeated season. What do you have?
I'm kind of back and forth on this one. I honestly don't think this is going to be an overly competitive game. I think it's going to be something like 38-14, 38-17. I feel like the Clemson game, knowing what's left for Notre Dame, they got a bye week coming up. I just think this is a game where Notre Dame says, hey, let's leave it all out there. You got a bye week coming up, then Thanksgiving. Let's just go out there and handle our business. And, everybody's talking about trap game, 1993, all these kind of things. I think this is going to be a focused football team. And I think they're going to come out and they're going to take it to Boston College. And the thing is, Boston College hasn't played many teams that can beat them up along the lines. Clemson, as we saw again Saturday, is not an offensive line that's going to physically beat you up. North Carolina is not that kind of offensive line. The only one that is Virginia Tech. And we saw what Virginia Tech did to them with their run game. So I just don't think BC has the horses up front. I think this is going to be a game where Notre Dame's ground game just dominates. I think Ian Book's going to hit a couple big plays, and I think this game is going to be over as we get to the fourth quarter. And if I'm wrong, it's because Phil Jurkovec has a big game, but I just don't think – I think the Notre Dame defensive line is going to overwhelm the BC offensive line, which has really struggled this year. And I'll be a little surprised if this is a competitive game.
Brian, let's talk a little bit about what's going on at irishbreakdown.com.
Well, we just launched our YouTube channel also for irishbreakdown.com, which is something we've been trying to work on for a while. But I did an article out today where basically I broke down just how important Phil Jurkovec is to the BC offense. And essentially for Notre Dame, it's you Phil Jurkovec from going off, and not only do you win, but you win convincingly. So I laid out the statistical case for that, and then also talked about the 3 things Notre Dame needs to do to make that happen. I'm going to have an article talking about what I mentioned earlier about this being more like 1988 than 1993. And, of course, we'll continue all of our pregame analysis and stats and matchups and all those kind of things, talking about Notre Dame versus Boston College.
All right, next Wednesday, Notre Dame will be off. They're not playing again until the following Friday, November the 27th, Black Friday, if you will. Notre Dame will be at Chapel Hill taking on the University of North Carolina. How about next week we concentrate a little bit on the class of 2021 and focus a little bit on the class of 2022 as we do a little recruiting trail?
Sounds perfect.
All righty,
Sounds
Brian.
perfect. I just put some scoop up on recruiting on Irish Breakdown yesterday, so there's definitely a good time to do that.
There you go, and it's never too late to talk about recruiting, as hopefully Brian Kelly is going to continue to keep this very nice ball rolling down a very steep hill, as Notre Dame is undefeated and 4 wins away from a trip to the ACC title game, and hopefully, fingers crossed, they'll be 3 wins away from an ACC title game after Saturday. Brian, always a pleasure. Look forward to catching up with you next week, brother.
Thanks for having me on, man.
You got it. Brian Driscoll from IrishBreakdown.com. Check out his work. Fantastic job. Every time I go to IrishBreakdown.com, I'm always learning a little bit more about Notre Dame and about about what Brian Kelly is doing with the program. And again, I'll be honest, I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, okay? I get it. I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, but by God, that win on Saturday, again, without Trevor Lawrence, without 3 starters, but Brian Driscoll hit it on the screws. It's not like Notre Dame played a perfect game on Saturday. They didn't. Notre Dame left some points on the board, and they played far from a perfect game. So there's room to grow with Notre Dame, and plus they were also without some players as well. And I understand that Clemson will sit back and say, well, we're without the best quarterback in college football and 3 starters on defense. Well, none of those starters were going to be guarding any of the tight ends anytime soon. I'm just saying. So I think Notre Dame is in good shape. We'll hopefully, knock on wood, they stay hungry. They knock off Boston College on Saturday. You can bet your bottom dollar Phil Jurkovec is going to be ready and chomping at the bit to get a victory over his former team. But Jurkovec has done really, really well for Boston College. And if Boston College gets a couple of recruiting classes, that's going to be a fun team to watch. I want you to take a timeout. When we come back, it's Masters Week. Yeah, it's early November, but we're going to talk Masters. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek is coming up next. Stick around. We got some golf talk to do after this timeout. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown.
Hello, I'm Greg Burbick with G. Burbick Farms. For the last 100 years, my family has farmed in the Columbiana and Mahoning counties. I began raising cattle in 1996 with the goal of providing a better product for you and your family on the dinner table. Our grass-fed and grain-supplemented Black Angus beef are raised with no hormones, steroids, or antibiotics. We're known for our hometown-friendly service and incredible tasting products. We're locally owned and have customers across the tri-state area. Our products go from our farm to your family. Stop by our farm on New Buffalo Road or visit us on the web at gburbickfarms.com. Don't forget to like us on Facebook. G. Burbick Farms, it just tastes better.
This is Jim Myers with Myers Family Insurance, your local Medicare and retirement resource.
We're excited to have sports back. Whether you're on the field or cheering from the stands, sports unifies communities and brings hope for the future. We're all one team working together. At Myers Family Insurance, we know the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is October 15th through December 7th. Now's the time to make sure your plan continues to meet your needs for the upcoming year.
Call today.
WRS Wealth Advisors, the area's premier wealth and retirement specialists. Located on South Avenue in Boardman.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. It is Wednesday. We're in the golf season. It is time to bring in our guy from Mill Creek. We have a special week in golf, and I'm trying to get into the spirit of the Masters, and honest to God, I can't do it. Hopefully, Brian Tilnar will get me into the Masters spirit as we bring him in, courtesy of the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Brian, for whatever reason, it's mid-November, and I just cannot get into the hey, it's time for the Masters. It just, maybe it's my golf clock that's not set for November for the Masters in Augusta, Georgia.
Well, I think fortunately for us, the weather is good. If we were looking at snow outside, it would probably be a little bit different. Usually, what happens is anytime the Masters is on, even in early spring when the weather is cool, we tend to get a lot of people that get excited. They watch the broadcast and they come out and play, or they'll come out and play before the broadcast comes on. So hopefully, we'll be able to entice you into the game of golf. Albeit we've got the par 3 contest coming up here today. We've got the opening round tomorrow, and then there's nothing like a back nine Sunday edition of the Masters, watching to see who's going to win the tournament, who's going to fall apart, who's going to hang in there, and who's going to go home with that green jacket at week's end.
Okay, now there's a lot of things that have changed. Obviously, the first thing is we're not playing this tournament in April. We're playing it now in November, at least for this year. That's number one. The time change, especially on Sunday, because, unlike in previous years, the PGA is going up against the National Football League, and I think the folks in the Masters are a little smart to realize, hey, if we start this thing early and get done, everyone can still watch their football. So it's that's getting moved back a little bit as well. Other than that, hey, they may have to bring in some azaleas, but other than that, it's going to be a typical weekend of play in Augusta, Georgia. Now, my question to you is, there's obviously, we know, and from you mentioning this on a number of occasions, there's a profound difference between fall golf and spring golf. Now, that's a little more noticeable north of the Mason-Dixon line in a community like Youngstown. But Augusta, Georgia is south of the Mason-Dixon line. Is there a noticeable difference between golfing in April and golfing in November in Georgia?
Well, I think one of the things that they have going for them is they've had, a number of days that it's been a lot drier than it is traditionally up here in the northeastern part of the country. To your point, with football and everything that's going on, CBS is in their, I want to say, 65th or 66th year of covering the Masters on television, and rightfully so. It is up against the NFL games, on Sunday. However, CBS will not air any games until after 4 o'clock, so they are giving some kudos to the Masters. I think, from a spectator standpoint, watching the event on TV, that the things that'll look different is, there's no way around Mother Nature and, leaves changing color. The sights and the sounds of the spring compared to the fall. And that'll be completely different than what we're accustomed to seeing as fans watching the event on TV, where everything's green and in bloom. With some of the things that I've seen in the prelude to leading up to today's par 3 tournament, and the tournament itself, is trees that you're normally looking to be in bloom, but the dogwoods and all that, they're not in bloom. They look like what our park did 2 weeks ago when they were in peak season from a color standpoint. So you are going to see that, and I think it's going to look beautiful from a television perspective. Another feature that they're not going to have that we're accustomed to as fans is fans and spectators on the ground during the tournament. So, hearing those roars, playing with the momentum of the crowd, it's going to be a lot more subdued like it was with the U.S. Open a few months back, where it's was a lot quieter than you're normally seeing. You don't have the luxury from a player's perspective of the fans finding your ball when you hit it offline. Normally there's a fan or a group of people that know exactly where it went into a hazard or the wood line and so on and so forth. They'll still have volunteers and stuff out there helping with that, but you're not going to have that many sets of eyes. So it's going to be drastically different than what we're accustomed to, other than the fact at the end of the week, obviously the winner's going to go home with a green jacket, and it's in November. So I think there's some uniqueness with what you're going to see on television. Now, history with that part of the country, this time of the year is normally firm and fast. However, they were talking this morning how it could be a little bit softer than normal. They certainly have the sub-air system that they can inject water to make it play soft and longer, or they can suck the water out of the green to make it play firm and fast. What they do from a tournament perspective, I guarantee you they'll have the greens no different than how you would see them, come early April or that first weekend in April. So I think from a player standpoint, it'll be very similar to how it's been, other than visually looking at trees that are normally just coming into bloom and blossoming to now they're in the fall and they're on the downside. So, that's where it's going to be a little bit different. But I think, it's still major, and it's the pinnacle of the golf season. Normally would be the starting point. It's just coming towards the end, because we have literally maybe 1 to 2 events left the rest of this year after this event is completed. It's coming to an end, and everybody's dealing with what we're dealing with on this region of the country, and until they kick off the season back in January in Hawaii and on the West Coast, that's sort of where we're at in late November.
The weather is supposed to be hit and miss this weekend in Augusta. Right now it's in the low 80s, mostly cloudy skies. Yesterday, when they did a little bit of practicing, it was absolutely gorgeous. But unfortunately, you're not going to see much of the sun this weekend in Augusta. There's, the rain, like I said, hit and miss with the rain. And that's going to make things a little challenging for the golfers as well, I would imagine.
I think you have, weather's certainly a big factor in that, and I think, daylight. You brought up a good point earlier. It's the stuff that we're dealing with up here, for our golfing pleasure. The guys that would normally have the opportunity to get off work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, usually have time to come out and play 9 holes. Well, with the daylight saving time change, 5 o'clock is, it's pitch dark at a quarter after, at worst. So, they're up against that challenge of daylight. So tee times will be starting vastly different than they have been. They'll be split tees, so you got players going off the front and the back to accommodate that. And the good news is, from a field standpoint, is it's the smallest field of any major of the 4 majors, obviously being an invitational event. They're at 93 players with the withdrawal of Sergio Garcia. Whether they put somebody in to make it even, because they like to play in twosome, is yet to be seen. But I'm sure they'll make that assessment here if they haven't already, as we're on the air. So, I think up against the daylight savings time, that's going to be different. It's going to be different seeing the tournament end at 4 or 5 o'clock. Normally you're taking this to the evening, and the players in the lead don't tee off till 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I think that's where it's going to be a little bit different. But as a fan of sports, being able to watch this, all morning and having it conclude at 4 o'clock, and then being able to watch an NFL game on Sunday shortly thereafter, I think that's pretty cool.
Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek joining me on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Brian, have you had an opportunity to play at Augusta?
I have not had the opportunity to play at Augusta. However, I have been to Augusta. I've watched the par 3 tournament. I've watched the actual tournament, the practice round. Been on the property there for a week on a couple occasions. It is spectacular. Everything and anything you hear about it, how well manicured it is exactly what you see on television. There's not a weed on the property. It is just absolutely pristine. What television doesn't do it justice is the undulation of the holes, the hills, the terrain. It looks like there's some slope to it on television, but until you get there and until you walk it, it's a hike. And I'll tell you what, after you walk around it for 18 holes, if you start on one and walk all the way around, you are physically exhausted at the end of the day. I can't imagine, coming down the stretch on Sunday after you've played four days of being physically exhausted, you're mentally exhausted, and how you have to putt, chip, and play the golf course from a tournament perspective under the pressure that you see, in the afternoon on Sunday. So it is a spectacular property. The television camera doesn't do it justice. And I tell everybody, it's like if you ever gone to Disney World or Disneyland, how meticulous they are with setup and how they get people in and out, and the maintenance of the facility and how the operations of the tournament and everything that's associated with the tournament run is identical to what they've done down there at Augusta. From the moment you walk in the gate to the shops that you go into to purchase your stuff, whether it be souvenirs. Basically, you come out of the shop, you've got a FedEx and a UPS stand, building. I mean, not stand, but you can basically drop your stuff off. They will pack it for you. They'll ship it back. And like I said, the couple times that I've won, I've purchased stuff for myself and some friends and family. And it's the stuff that I purchased there. We walked out. We gave it to the FedEx rep. Give them your address, a business card. They ship it right off, and it's as easy as that. And it was here before I even got home from my trip down there to watch the tournament. So, I mean, it's very well thought out, from the facilities that are on the property to the driving range to what they do for the fans. All the chairs that you see around the greens and the tees, Augusta provides those. They all have a spot for a business card holder on the back. You basically go down there, you put your business card in the back. That's your spot for the day. No one will sit in there. You can come and go as you please, as long as there's a business card in there. So, I mean, it's well thought out. You don't have to bring anything in. They have it there, and they provide it for you. It's awesome from a spectator's perspective.
Let me ask you, because obviously you're in the business of wanting to make your product, and that would be Mill Creek, as great as humanly possible. Do you get an opportunity, trade shows or whatnot, to speak to anyone who runs the country club in Augusta?
I can tell you this, the head professional who's up at Oak Hill in Rochester, New York, was an assistant down there. I did go to PGA school with one of the guys that was an assistant down there as well. And the stories that you hear and the just networking that you share with these individuals is unbelievable. I mean, for an example, their superintendent, they have a director of superintendent, what it's called. Each hole has its own superintendent. So they, in essence, have 19 superintendents. They're responsible for one hole, and they get a staff of 2 or 3 employees, and that's their hole to maintain, all throughout the course of the year. Now, the facility's only open 3 to 4 months based on weather, and they close up shortly after the normal time range. In April's tournament, they usually close about the 15th of May. But, I mean, just the sheer staff and the ability to have the equipment and resources that these folks have are unbelievable. And the sheer volume that they do during that week with merchandise and what have you is unbelievable. And Jason Ballard, the head professional up at Oak Hill, is just won the National Merchandiser of the Year. So, being able to learn that at a venue like Augusta and be a golf professional down there you're fortunate enough to do that because they only have a staff of about 6 or 8 pros between the golf course there, the range, and the par 3 golf course. But it's just an impressive operation, and to hear the stories that they share and the friendships that you make in this golf business, it's unbelievable.
Brian Tolnar, our guest. Brian runs Mill Creek, and before we even get to your predictions and other stuff with Well, actually, let's continue on with the Masters because I don't want to bounce back and forth. Let's continue on with the Masters. Weeks ago you were talking about how it's better for a golfer to be on the course early. The spike marks aren't prevalent the earlier you golf. And I say this because the times have been announced. Jason Kokrak will be golfing with Xander Schauffele and Henrik Stenson, and they're going to go off at 7:44 a.m., which is the fifth group that will be going off. 7 o'clock, you have 7 o'clock, 7:11, 7:22, 7:33, and 7:44. So Jason Kokrak and his playing mates, Xander Schauffele and Henrik Stenson, they will be the fifth group going off tomorrow morning from hole number 1. I got to imagine that that's going to be a good advantage for Jason in a course that I honestly believe that this course is right up Jason's alley in terms of his strengths.
There's no doubt about it. Obviously early there is vitally important. It all depends on weather too. So I mean, a lot of times, you're subject to what the weather conditions throw at you, whether you have the early on Thursday and late on Friday afternoon. As a player, I always like to go off early the first round, because number one, the golf course is in good shape to begin with. There's no spike marks. There's no wear and tear after you've had, 100-some golfers go through. Plus, you don't have to wait around all day and have that onus over you, you're playing the waiting game in essence, when you're teeing off at 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So finding things to do, finding things to take your mind off of the round that you're going to play. And I think that's going to be huge for Jason. And I 100% agree. He's got the game to play around and do what's necessary to take advantage of the golf course. And it's, when we go into our picks, we'll speak of him a little bit as well. But I always like to go out early. That way, if you had any problems, during that morning round, you could come work on it, and you had the next morning to work on it before you went out and played that afternoon round on Friday. So I think it's certainly an advantage. Weather-wise, hopefully it will be, fine for where he's at. But, I mean, he's got a super pairing. I mean, Xander Schauffele's no slouch, so you're going to see some good golf. And you want to be playing with players that are extremely good because it makes you play better. I've always felt, my game was played better when I played with better players. So I think, Henrik Stenson's obviously is internationally plays extremely well. Xander Schauffele, he's always in the top 10 at these majors, and it's just a matter of time before he bounces through, and he's had a great career in a short period of time. So I think it's going to be, fun for him to be able to play with him, and I believe he played with him in Las Vegas when he won, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, it's a friendly pairing. They had a good time. They were talking during the course of their round, and it makes for a relaxing groove. So, I certainly I think that there's some notoriety about getting an early tee time and getting, off the start. Again, when you go into those afternoon times and someone's already shot 64, then you get out there and you want to, get yourself into the game, and you may press too hard. So morning, right out of the gate, first day, I think is a huge advantage for Jason and any player that pulls that morning draw.
Bryson DeChambeau has been the talk of this tournament to this point, and now the tournament hasn't started yet. But the fact that Bryson DeChambeau has, he's basically destroyed every golf course in terms of the fact that he can hit a ball close to 400 yards, and I can only imagine if he's able to hit the ball down the fairway. Some of these par fives might be driver, pitching wedge, I'm on the green in 2, and you tend to wonder because the folks in Augusta get a little snarky when their golf course gets eaten up like that, and I'm just wondering if Bryson DeChambeau has a really, really good weekend where he's making a mockery of the par fives, what the good folks at Augusta will do to Bryson-proof the golf course.
Well, I can tell you this. I mean, obviously in 1997 when Tiger Woods went in there and just destroyed the place and tore it up, that certainly opened their eyes, and they have changed, every 3 or 4 years by either, building new tee boxes, adding links, changing the angles on some of the holes. And I think, some of the things that they did during this off season with not having the tournament there is they certainly added some yards to the golf course. Went from being 7,475 yards to 7,768, some change. So I think, number one, they, took length as an advantage, knowing that was going to be an issue. That's one of the reasons why they lengthened the golf course. And I think, seeing what he did at the U.S. Open, obviously he's going to be in the topic of conversation based on what he did at the U.S. Open and at Winged Foot. Very similar to what you would think he would do here on some of the par fives. Now, 2 of the par fives that they did lengthen was number 2 and number 8. Both of them 570 and 575 yards. So they increased those by 30 to 45 yards, depending upon which you play. But most importantly, when you look at like a hole like number 2, when you add length to number 2 is a big dog leg from right to left. And it is downhill, but you really have to work the ball off the tee. So not only do you have to bomb the ball off the tee now, you have to bomb it and work the ball off the tee. And, I put together like 5 keys that I think, playing Augusta well. And I think, number one, you have to be aware of the cutting patterns. This is something we've talked about, going into the Houston Open last week, where all the cutting patterns are from the green to the tee. So they're cutting the grain into you. So when you hit that iron shot, you're going to always be hitting into the green, which doesn't, necessarily allow the golf ball to fly the way you would like it if it was down grain or side grain. So that's number one. Number 2, the green complexes down there are so big, and what they call our green quadrants. And how I explain that is they're basically like having 4 greens in one. You have to know where to miss the ball, and you have to miss your shot on the proper side if you are to miss a green, because there's places that it's darn near impossible to get it up and down. 16, comes to mind, the shot where Tiger Woods, holes it out, the ball hung on the lip for, it seemed like 30 seconds before it fell in. That shot over there is either you chip it in like he did or you knock it 10 feet by. So it's not the place that you want to miss the hole. So I think, being aware of where the green quadrants are and missing on the proper side is key. Bunkers, they have less sand in them than anything. They're more like a finite dust, very fine powder. So they're very easy to get out. So, if you're going to miss somewhere, you definitely want to miss the bunker because the shot and the ease of getting it up and down is a lot better. The par fives, 2 Bryson DeChambeau, all reachable, but, a little bit high risk, high reward with some of the links that they added to them. I think the player that wins this week has to play the par fives, of which there are 4, in between 8 and 10 under. Obviously reachable. You've got to make birdie on more than half of them half the time, about 75% of the time. And number 5, the remaining holes, you got to play those between 5 and 7 under. And if you can do that, the winning score at the end of the week is going to be somewhere between 12 and 15 under. Now, if the weather obviously gets in there, that could, fluctuate that. If it gets, windy or rainy, maybe a shot easier, maybe a shot harder, depending upon how they have the setup of the greens. But those are the 5 keys: the cutting patterns, the green quadrants, the bunkers, the par fives, and then playing those remaining holes under par. I think if you do that, the players that do that will be extremely well-versed at the end of the week going into that back nine and having a legitimate shot at winning. We talk about Bryson and how well he hits the ball off the tee. If I were to pick a player or make a creative player, going into Augusta that has longevity, and I think, Tiger Woods and Phil Mickelson come into mind as I'm doing this. Number one, 50% of that player's game has to be a good iron player. Well, Tiger and Phil, great iron players. 5% has to rely on good driving and driving accuracy. Both of those tend to drive it inaccurately at times. And if you add up the 8 green jackets that are between the two, it goes without saying there's not much of a premium on driving other than you bomb the ball. There's not like U.S. Open heavy rough that really gets you in trouble. 25% of that player has to be a good putter, and 20% of that player making 100% has to be good in short game. So if you add short game and putting, it's 45%. Iron play is 50%. And being a good driver, an accurate driver, is only 5%. And I think if you built a dynamic player, that's the key this week. You have to be good, precise with your irons. You don't necessarily have to drive it extremely well, but you got to keep it on the golf course. You can't hit it in the woods because otherwise you're not going to be able to get it up and down or give yourself opportunities. And the players that know where to hit it on those green quadrants, keeping it under the hole or giving them short putts from the opposite side of the hole that they can make, I think are the guys that are going to do well this week. And I think that's one of the reasons why there's 16 out of 17 past champions in the field this week, but Sergio obviously testing positive for COVID, not being able to play this week, so you're going to have 16 of those players. I think, going into the past champions, you look at, a Fred Couples or an Adam Scott, any of those guys have a shot winning there because they know how to play that golf course, and it's the only major that they play year in and year out where it's at the same venue. So there's, no doubt that group of folks knows that venue better than anybody, and I think they have a definite advantage over the rest of the field.
For the newbies that are playing Augusta for the first time, and we can put Jason Kokrak into that mix because this will be his first appearance, how important is the caddy going to be to those newbies and to those guys that really aren't too familiar with Augusta?
I think the caddy makes a huge advantage, especially there. Caddy that's knowledgeable about that property, where those spots are, and I certainly think if there's any disadvantage to Jason playing down there, it's the lack of reps and the lack of rounds under pressure. Being it's his first Masters, but I think a good caddy can overcome those inequities, and I think driving it well and keeping it in play, giving yourself a number of opportunities to hit greens and hitting them to the right spot is going to lead to a lot of birdie putts. I think, Jason is certainly suited for that. From a field perspective, obviously 93 or 94 players in this field. If you went with the betting odds, the top probably, they rank every player from 1 to 93 based on what their odds are. And obviously, Bryson DeChambeau is an 8-1 shot, Dustin Johnson 9-1, and so on down the line. But if you take that group of 20 or 22 players in that first, what I call quadrant of players, if I'm picking, my top 5 this week, obviously there's a group of people that I think have the huge advantage of winning. And then you take the next group of, say, 22 people, and of that I would pick one player. And of the next, I would pick one player, but the majority of my players are going to be in that top 20 or top 25 betting odds, just for the fact that, they certainly have all the qualities off the tee. They hit it far. They have an advantage that they played a number of rounds there. They're past champions. They chip and putt it well. They play majors well, as opposed to the bottom half of the bracket. I go through the list, we'll say from the bottom up. Larry Mize, 2001 shot, past champion in the 80s, doesn't have the length to get there. And you go up that list, Sandy Lyles, another one of those guys. Yes, they're in the field. Yes, they've won the event. The 4 or 5 amateurs in the field, just an awe of being there is huge for them. Bernhard Langer is another one of those guys. Certainly plays well on the senior tour. Doesn't really have a shot. We'll play 2 or 3 good rounds, but can't put all 4 rounds together and can't hang with the big boys. So I mean, you could take over half of the field and just say you've got no shot. You take the next half that are past champions that are in that second group of 20. 1 or 2 of them players have a shot, but legitimately this tournament's going to come down to about 22 players of the 93 that have an actual shot of winning. And I think that's how you have to look at it this week, based on their ability to play, their length off the tee, and their ability to put 4 rounds together. So I think, that's probably paramount of anything going into Sunday's round. Get your first green jacket.
Is there a long shot that you're looking at and saying, boy, the odds makers aren't giving this person much respect because there is a chance this guy could win the green jacket and someone could win a lot of money if they're putting a legal bet on this guy?
I would say, anybody that's got a 100-1 shot and better has a chance. Anything beyond that, I just don't think that they have enough game to put it together for 4 rounds. We saw that a couple years ago. It can certainly happen, and there's no doubt about it. You know, we saw that a couple years ago with Danny Willett, one of those players. I think he was probably about a 500 or 300 to 1 shot. Certainly was playing well internationally all around the world. Just, you know, didn't do much here in the United States. Certainly could have that good week, put everything together, and put the daylights out of it. But the odds of being able to do that, you know, 4 days in a row in a 20-year span is, you know, highly unlikely. I mean, Jason Kokrak this week, he's a 70 to 1 shot. Phil Mickelson's an 80 to 1 shot. Guys won it 3 times. Both of those guys certainly can have a great week and get it done. I wouldn't discount either of those. Justin Rose, 50 to 1. Ricky Fowler, I think he's 66 to 1. Something like that. Definite guys that can get it done, and they've proved that they can get it done in the past. But, you know, it's hard to come up with a group of players that hits it as far as DeChambeau does or Dustin Johnson does. And even on their worst day, they're a little bit better than the rest of the players in the field. And, you know, obviously Tiger Woods a 35 to 1 shot. I don't know that he'll be in the mix for a top 5 or a top 3 or defend his title, but I think he'll be around because he plays there and he's got great history there. And that's where you bring the Mickelsons and you bring the Tiger Woodses and even the Jordan Spieth, you know, for that matter, you know, that's had past history there. They have something to fall back on where, you know, a Matt Kuchar, yes, he plays well there, but he doesn't have any victories there to fall back on that get him over the hump. Billy Horschel, Zach Johnson, obviously a past winner there, just doesn't have the firepower anymore with the length that they're putting on because he doesn't hit it very far off the tee. So I think it's going to be limited to about one of 20-some players and that have a legitimate shot of contending for it this week.
All right, let's get into your top 5. Who do you like this weekend at the Masters?
Top 5 includes only one past winner, and it starts off with Patrick Reed. Never been a fan of him personally, but I think what he's done at Augusta certainly lends him to be in the realm for being a winner this week, the 2018 champion. Always sort of hangs around there on the leaderboard, you know, come the weekend at Augusta. He went to Augusta State, Georgia native. I think it's sort of a home game for him, and I think that that's a huge advantage. Augusta State played a lot of practice rounds there collegiately, so I think he knows the golf course as good as anybody there, or equally as good as any past champion, so I have him at number 1. Number 2, Bryson DeChambeau. Obviously, his win at the U.S. Open, I think, was strong. You know, he certainly has a power game, and he could take advantage of the par 5s and get the numbers 8, 10, and 12 under on those par 5s alone. I think his putting, you know, what he did at the U.S. Open, spectacular. I think he needs another performance like it at Augusta. He's played there as an amateur. He's played well. I think, you know, any time that you win decisively like he did at the U.S. Open, he certainly would be a good fit for Augusta and putting his arm through a green jacket. Number 3, Dustin Johnson, number 1 player in the world right now, FedEx Cup champion. Needs to put 4 rounds together. I think if he can do that, you know, I think he'll play well. Traditionally, he's never really put 4 rounds together. He's played 3 of 4 very solid. The 4th, he kind of just hangs out there at 72, 73. So I think if he cleans that 1 round up and gets all 4 rounds in the 60s, I think he's at the top of the leaderboard at weekend. And I think he is a great iron player, drives the ball far enough to take advantage of the par 5s, and I think his irons alone will give him some opportunities to have some really good looks at putts. I think John Rahm, another one of those guys, very similar to Dustin, you know, with length and power off the tee. I think he is great under pressure. And I think, you know, having won on the PGA Tour several times, it's a matter of time before he wins his first major. I think he chips it well. I think he chips it well enough to be in competition down there for making a run on the weekend. And I think he handles pressure, you know, really well, which is certainly what you need to do, you know, coming down the stretch on that back 9 on Sunday. And that number 5, rounding out the top 5 this week, is Justin Thomas. You know, like Dustin Johnson in how he's played there over the course of the past couple years, Justin's only put 3 out of 4 rounds together. He's certainly a solid iron player. He drives it extremely straight when he's hitting it well. But, putting all 4 rounds together, I think, is going to lend him to be in it. He's former major champion. I just think he certainly has the power to get it done, and that's why I have him rounding out the top 5 this week. I've got 2 sleepers. Hideki Matsuyama. I think he's great from an iron standpoint. His only question mark is the length that he hits it off the tee. He just doesn't hit it as far as the rest. I think he's a great putter. I think he chips it well, and I think he's got a great imagination, which is sometimes what you need when you're playing in Augusta. I think you have to have some imagination around the greens because it's going to give you some shots that you're not comfortable in hitting, and you've got to find a way to get it up and down. And our second sleeper of the week is Jason Kokrak. I think with sheer length off the tee, the way he putted in Las Vegas on greens that are going to be similar with some undulations, I think, he certainly chips it well. He's a good iron player. The experience is a question mark, and the pressure of a major, obviously is going to be a little bit different than the pressure coming down the stretch for a PGA Tour victory in Las Vegas. But I think he's a definite candidate that could play well and surprise a lot of people this week.
I'm looking at a couple of guys, and by the way, I love your sleeper pick with Kokrak because, honest to God, I think not only does he make the cut, I think, and I have to knock on wood when I say this because I don't want to jinx the poor guy. I think there's a top 10 finish in Jason Kokrak this weekend. I think that he has the ability to have a top 10 finish. Now, speaking of, Justin Thomas has made 4 appearances at Augusta. Now, his standing has improved year after year, but he has still not had a top 10 finish at Augusta. Yep. He's well overdue for getting a top 10 finish, and I think he's definitely deserving of the list. But I also like Xander Schauffele. Let me make this prediction. Kokrak and Xander Schauffele are pairing up in rounds 1 and 2. I think they're going to be pairing up in round 3 or round 4 in this tournament. I think it won't be the last time you see these two guys pairing up after the second round. I think that these two guys are going to be there come Sunday, where they may be paired up again on Sunday in the final round of the tournament.
I 100% agree with you, and the reason that I didn't put Jason at the number 5 spot because he was very close. He was obviously in that second batch of players, but I thought with his lack of experience, made Justin Thomas get the edge there. But I agree with you with Justin Thomas. I mean, he's due for something there. I don't know what it is or why he's not played as well as he does in other majors, especially at Augusta. And he certainly has a question mark for me with some of the wrist injuries too. Obviously being in there, I think he's certainly a good candidate for that. But I think Jason Kokrak, I think, is going to surprise a lot of people. And the fact that he's got the same pairing for the first 2 days with Xander as he did coming down the stretch at Las Vegas, I think those two get along together. I think they're going to have a nice conversation, keep each other relaxed, and I think it's going to be fun to watch both of them. But Xander, I tell you what, he's a top 10 machine when it comes to majors. He's always knocking on that door, and he's always on the first page of that leaderboard. Getting in there, it's just a matter of breaking through. So those are some great picks, and I think Jason's going to have a heck of a week.
All right, one of the great traditions, one of my favorite traditions of Augusta is when a champion comes back and defends his crown, the night before, the dinner is the dinner that the champion wants to serve. So let me ask you, Brian Tolnar, if you had ever won the Masters and you wanted to set a menu for the night before the start of the Masters tournament, what would be the menu of choice for one Brian Tolnar?
I think I would like to do something southern, do a little barbecue down there. Little brisket, little pulled pork, little pulled chicken, some smoked turkey, some of the stuff that we see at Mission Barbecue. I think you'd see a lot of that on the menu at the end of the night. I think you have that, something peach related, whether it's peach cookies or peach ice cream, to give it a little Georgia tie. But I think that's cool. I think that's one of the unique things, that the Masters bring with the past champions. And it's, funny that you bring that up, because when I was up in New York, we had what we called the Tournament of Champions, where we would invite all the clubs that do a club championship. We'd invite their club champion, male and female. And the first night before the tournament went, we had everybody there, and we had them for a champions dinner as well, with the winner getting to pick what the menu would be. So I think that that's really cool and really unique, and it makes the event what it is. You add that, the par 3 tournament. It's unfortunate this year we didn't see the drive, chip, and putt with the kids because of that, the COVID stuff, and the women's amateur. But I think what Augusta has done for the game of golf the last 4 or 5 years, and obviously having Lee Elder on the tee, hitting the tee shot with Jack and Gary this year, I think is phenomenal. The first black individual that had gotten the opportunity to play at Augusta, and I think he's phenomenal with the game of golf, and I'm glad to see that they put Lee Elder in there, because he's just a great ambassador for the game of golf, and it's what golf truly is. I mean, we want to include everybody, and that's a perfect example of bringing everybody to the fray. So, I mean, adding the women's event there, adding the kids event there, it's truly a family game where, heck, when I got into the golf business, many years ago, women weren't allowed to play before 2 o'clock on weekends at private clubs. It's drastically different. Now we encourage families. We encourage everybody to come play. And I think it's great for the game as we grow the game of golf. So I think what Augusta has done is phenomenal.
Okay, I gotta throw this dessert out. I'm not sure what the menu would be, but the dessert has to be peach cobbler.
I'm for it. That's what I said. It's got to be something peach related.
Yeah.
Peach cobbler with some peach ice cream. I'm right there with you, with some Southern sweet tea to watch.
Oh, absolutely! You got to have the sweet tea, because that's. I lived in the South for 7 years. Lived in Jackson, Tennessee, and I ordered a tea just with no sugar in it, and they looked at me like I murdered someone. They looked at and the person, I'll never forget this. Honey, why in the world would you want to get a tea with no sugar in it? And I just said, I'm like, well, I just don't want to. Oh, bless your heart. Then I figured out what bless your heart meant, and well, it is what it is. So, yeah, and that's there's interesting people down there, to say the least. But no, you must have, if you're going to go dessert, you got to have something that with Georgia being the peach state, you got to have something peach related. But my menu would it's kind of similar to Tiger. I'd either have a tacos, fajitas, burritos, or go Italian, and go lots of pasta, meatballs, and go from there. But I kind of like your idea of a barbecue.
I'll tell you what, the pasta thing would be pretty cool too, because to my knowledge, I don't know that anybody's done that. I think they all stick with the steak and lobster, and what's the other thing I like?
Crabs.
I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Crabs, lobster, steak, and whatnot. A lot of surf and turf, if you will.
Prime rib.
Yeah. See, my only thing is,
cool.
My only thing is, and again, it's probably because I didn't have a good Italian meal in the South. I wouldn't be able to trust any of those people to cook a good Italian meal. I'd have to.
I agree with you.
I'd have to bring some of my paisans from up here to show these people how to make a good spaghetti dinner or how to make some good sauce. I'm just saying.
I'm sure if you're the champion, you're probably allowed to bring in your crew. I can tell you that, because I agree with you 100%. There's nothing like pasta here. And, even living in New York for a couple of years, I mean, if you grew up in Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, and the places that you can go have a pasta dinner or a pizza for that matter, they don't even compare to what we have here anywhere else. New York likes to talk about, pasta and pizza, and they don't hold a candle to Mahoning Valley.
They're fakers. They're nowhere close to our pizza and nowhere close to our pasta. I'm just going to say it.
Plus, I moved up there, and they're like, let's get a Briar Hill. They look at you like, what the hell's a Briar Hill? It's like, and then when you tell them what it is, they're like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. I'm like, well, put it on the menu. Let's go.
There you go.
Simple.
And bring a couple of people from Youngstown to cook up or to make the pizza dough, and then do the Briar Hill. Because it's amazing. You look around and you're like, how the hell does no one know what a Briar Hill is?
Yeah,
it's just
scary.
Yeah, it is. It's frightening. Now, then again, you go down south, and there's some delicacies that the people up here, good luck trying to figure it out, and good luck trying to make it, because you're up a very steep uphill battle, because you're not going to be anywhere near as good as what they do down there.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. That's what I say. I let them stick to the barbecue.
There you go.
They're solid.
Oh.
They're solid when it comes to that.
Ain't no two ways about that. Brian Tolnar, our guest. All right. The last few days we've had Indian summer. It's kind of tailing off today. The weather's gone back to being a little crabby. Tomorrow and the next few days, it's going to be in the 50s, and that's not bad. It's still nice golf weather, especially if it's sunny. But what was the course like, and how busy were you guys during this incredibly wonderful Indian summer?
I'll tell you what, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, off the charts. I mean, we had just about every cart on the property out there. The news came and did a thing on Indian summer, and it was the traffic behind us when we were painting the thing was unbelievable. The response to people getting out of here, like we talked about earlier before, and obviously having to be done by 5, sort of handcuffs us a little bit. But I mean, the response of the players taking advantage of 77, 78, 79 degrees, I think it's been spectacular. However, we started today with a little bit of rain, but it's been nice, and we've got a bunch of folks out there right now. The rest of the week looks sunny. It is a little bit cooler than the past couple, so we got spoiled. But one of the things that what we've done, to continue the season, obviously having cart pass all the way around on all 18 holes of both courses now, certainly allows us to play a little bit longer. We went out and purchased 25 cart covers. So when it does get a little bit colder, we're offering the first 25, first come, first serve. Whoever wants to take a cart out with a cart cover, the doors zip shut. If you want to do that, the doors are open. You can do that, but it'll take off the chill. So at no more charge than what you pay for a normal greens fee. Just got to be one of the ones that chill up here early and grabs one of those 25 carts that are covered. To sort of extend the season. We want to play as long as we can, and as long as we can do that, until the weather, really worsens, or we get into a situation where it's detrimental to causing damage to our turf grass. We'll let you play as long as we can, and I'm right now. I've said it, for months now. I think we're going to be good up until Thanksgiving, and if we can go a week or two beyond that, it's sort of a bonus at this point. So I think people are. Knowing where the COVID numbers are and being outdoors, instead of being confined inside, I think if we can continue this on and go as long as we can with these cart covers and the snowbird tournament we have on Sunday, and extend the golf season as much as we can, I think it's been fun, and the people have really sort of embraced it.
Next week we're going to talk a little bit about how important a mild winter is to the golf course and everything going on at Mill Creek. And, I bring that up because the long-range forecast for this winter, we're supposed to have a mild winter. Now, we might be 100% wrong on this. The weather forecasters might have jinxed us, but next week we'll talk a little bit about that, because the winter, I got to imagine the winter is incredibly important for many, many reasons, and whether it's severe or not is going to determine a lot of things for you guys when you start opening things up in the spring.
Absolutely, and as much as we hate to say this, snow, for our region of the country is our friend, and the reason I say that is it's like an insulation layer. What you really try to avoid is the ice, the heavy rain that turns to ice, and then you get snow on top of that ice. You really want the base layer of snow first, and then the ice over top, because the ice is what gets into your turf grass and your roots that really cause damage, disease, that make it very tough for the superintendent come opening time in the spring to eradicate that. It'll take them a month or two, if it penetrates through there. So, we laugh and joke, until the first snow flies, but we're really looking for snow to insulate, the greens and the turf and the fairways and the tees to really protect us from the ice. The ice is the damaging factor, and if we could do that, it's going to be a pretty good winter and a pretty good spring coming out of the gate like it was this past year.
Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek joining me as he does every Wednesday at 1 o'clock on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. Okay, before we get to the tip of the week, you have some goodies to give away, so let's make this happen, Brian.
I do. In lieu of the tip of the week, and one of the things that we're really thinking about this week is we talked about targets and being observant. We want to make sure that you guys watch the Masters this week and really take in what those players do to translate it into your game. So we've got a couple questions for the viewer audience today, and it will be good for 18 holes with a cart. And the first question is, who was the first president, since we're in a presidential month, who was the first president to become a member at Augusta? So that's question number one. And if you call the show, Ron will relay us who it is, and we can have you come pick up a 18-hole round with cart here at Mill Creek in the Pro Shop. We'll tag it for you. So that'll be our question number one. Question number two, what are and were the two things on the property named for this president? So it's a help for question number one, if you know who that is.
All right, I got to write this down. All right, the first president to belong to Augusta, and what are or were
the two things on the property named for this president?
Two things on the property named for the presidents.
Mm-hmm. And question number three, name the tree where all the players and the media meet near the clubhouse.
All right, and name the tree that the players...
Where all the players and media meet near the clubhouse.
Players and media meet near the clubhouse.
And our last question for today, the question itself is going to be, what are the nicknames of the holes that make up Amen Corner?
All right, so the final question, the nicknames that make up Amen Corner.
Yep. And a prelude to that is all 18 holes have a nickname associated with them. Prior to the Augusta National Golf Club becoming a golf course, it was a fruit farm. So they're really named after things that would have been on this farm, all 18 holes. So basically we're looking for what the name is on number 11, 12, and 13, the three holes that make up Amen Corner for the Masters Tournament.
All right. Outstanding. Okay, now let's, and by the way, anyone that answers these questions, we will pass along the name of the person, and they will get 18 holes in a cart.
18 holes in the cart at Mill Creek. We'll have a nice gift certificate set behind the counter for you with your name on it, and we'll go from there. So it hopefully will give you an extension of the golf season and an opportunity to come play before the year's out.
All right, that sounds like a plan. And now, obviously, I'm going to have to put you on hold so you can give me the answers to some of these questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because you know, I mean that's kind of need to do that to get the contestants to answer the questions. Okay, let's start and let's end this bad boy by giving us your tip of the week.
Tip of the week is going to be, we want you to focus in on the couple things that we keyed in on the last 2 weeks. Small targets. One of the things that we talked about was, obviously Jordan Spieth, the year that he won, looking at small targets and the visualization. This will give you an impact of your pre-shot routine, what the players are doing as they're standing behind the ball, looking at the hole, trying to figure out where their target line is, trying to figure out and see the shot. So we really want you to watch the Masters this week to be able to look at those things and then carry it on for the following week. So, more of a homework than a tip this week, something a little bit different. We want you to visualize both of those items. So, small targets, what they're keying in on, whether they're trying to line themselves up with, whether it be that divot or that blade of grass. And then we also want you to watch what the players are doing as they're standing behind the ball, visualizing that shot. So that way we can incorporate it in our game. Great prelude into the Masters this year.
And this is going to be an awful lot of fun. All of the tips that you have given us during the course of this golf season, and I'm sure people have written it down. Lord knows I have. I'm going to be really interested to get and go back and grab all of the tips that you have, because I've written all of them down and I've put them somewhere. And as I watch the Masters this weekend, and first and foremost, I gotta be honest, I was not into the Masters spirit before this phone call because, well, I'm going to be honest, normally you have the Masters in April, and it's in November this year, and the azaleas really aren't going to be popping. The course is going to be nice, but it's going to be different, and it's kind of like celebrating Christmas in May instead of December. And I'll be honest, I wasn't into the Masters spirit, but now I guess bring on the Masters. Let's have some fun here. Now you got me all juiced up for the Masters.
I'll tell you what, it's easy to be juiced up for the Masters in April because you're coming off the high of March Madness, and you're parlaying that into Augusta, the start of the baseball season. And I think equally so, especially with this one, as it ends on Sunday and even on Saturday. I mean, you've got college football, you got college game days going to be there on Saturday, making it even more exciting. Of course, they'll put a green jacket on this week. So, I mean, that part of it's going to be pretty cool. Watching the tournament on Saturday, watching the football game Saturday evening and Saturday night, and then you follow that up with the Masters ending at 5 o'clock on Sunday, and then you've got NFL football to watch all night. Pretty good weekend if you're an avid sports lover. There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely. All right, we're gonna say adieu, but you got to hang on to the line so I can get the answers to these 4 questions. And hopefully we're going to get you 4 winners, and they'll get a gift certificate for 18 holes of golf plus a cart. Again, these 4 questions. Who was the first president that belonged to Augusta? What are or were the 2 things on the property named for this president? Name the tree that the players and media meet near the clubhouse. And the nicknames that make up Amen Corner, holes 11, 12, and 13. Those are the questions.
Great stuff.
All right, Brian, always a pleasure. Let me put you on hold, and we will write down these answers, and then we're going to invite everyone to call in on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline today, tomorrow, and Friday for the answers to the questions. And obviously, the first person to answer one of these questions right gets a gift certificate for 18 holes plus a golf cart at Mill Creek. So we thank you very much for coming on, and we'll put you on hold, get the answer to these questions, and hopefully get you 4 winners.
You got it. Have a great sports weekend.
Amen. You as well, sir. Brian Tolnar from Mill Creek joining me, as always, on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline. Take a time out, be back with more. Stick around. More of this craziness to come.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before, but 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plans still meet your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Ruud. Michael relies on Ruud, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points on ysnlive.com. And joining us on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, we bring in Vindicator and Tribune Chronicle columnist and beat reporter for the YSU men's and women's basketball program, John Vargo. John, how are you today, sir?
Good. Nervous, but good.
You're a little nervous because your son in Cardinal Mooney High School will be playing in the state semifinals. They've got Toledo, Ottawa Hills from Mansfield. That game starts at 7 o'clock. Toledo, Ottawa Hills, 15 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw this season. Cardinal Mooney, 15 wins, 2 losses, 4 draws. Obviously, there are no draws in the playoffs. Mooney's got a hell of a chance to get to the state championship this year.
It is this Ottawa Hills team, as Coach Britton put it, is a little bit of a mirror image of Mooney himself. They love to get out. They love to try to score early, set their tempo. They're a fast-paced team. Actually, I'm kind of excited to be going over to Arlen Field, and I'm hoping that's where it is. That's where I think it is. I hope it's not some little dumpy grass field in the back of Mansfield High School, and get surprised, So, but yeah, the real field looks very nice over there in Mansfield. So the turf should be nice. I just think Ottawa Hills, they're an experienced team. They went to the state finals. They lost to Summit Country Day in 2017. They've had a similar road. They've only given up 2 goals during their postseason, and their last loss was against Maumee Country Day School, who they beat in the district final. So they've rattled off 5 straight to get to this point.
Yeah, it should be a great soccer match. The winner of this game gets the winner of Wheelersburg and Cincinnati Marymount. Both teams 21-0. They'll be playing at Springfield tonight at 7 o'clock. Hopefully Mooney gets to a state title game. Whoever they play is going to be undefeated, though.
Right. And Marymount, we've actually, the Twitter site has already started following Marymount, and same with them. So we're keep an eye on that one, but all eyes are going to be on Ottawa Hills tonight. That's just one game at a time, Ron. So, and it's take care of business tonight. So right now it's the Green Bears of Ottawa Hills.
Yeah, and obviously, and we mentioned this yesterday. I know a lot of us love to talk about championship teams, but I mean, John, let's be honest. In high school sports, no matter what sport you play, if you get to the state semifinals, you have made one hell of a good accomplishment.
Yeah, and that was the same with South Range boys last year, because my son Eric and I both went up there to that game last year, where it went to a 2-1 game. Still feel wholeheartedly South Range should have made that state final game. They had a whale of an opportunity early on to probably put away in the regulation. They missed one. It just doinked right off the goalpost. I mean, they had a clear shot. So it's like, but in soccer, as you well know, that's you just got to play it until you get to the back of the net. So.
And the other semifinal game involving the area, Howland unbeaten, 20 wins, no losses, 1 draw. They'll be playing Lima Shawnee tonight from Lexington. Lima Shawnee, 17 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. Howland needs to get a victory to have any shot at having a rematch of last year's state championship game with Tippecanoe.
Yeah, and I know they're looking forward to that. This is a very talented Howland team, and I was just talking to somebody this morning, and I said, I think it's maybe time, you put this Howland team in the same conversation as Medina and put them up there with St. Ignatius, because I think they've definitely earned that right. It's like, and now I think they need to, seal the deal here. This is a tricky Lima Shawnee team coming in. They have 16. They're rattling off 4, 8. It's like they have 14 wins coming in, and 14-0-1 coming into this game. And this is their second straight game at Lexington High School. They beat Lexington, the team that Howland had to come from behind last year in the state semifinals at Barberton to beat Lexington. So now they face Lima Shawnee at Lexington on a grass field. So this will be good preparation for whoever makes it out of this one for playing at Montfrey on Saturday.
Yeah, and obviously you want to get to Montfrey Stadium, and I've had an opportunity to see that place. Oh my goodness, it's one of the nicest places for soccer. Period. Now, obviously, in the States, soccer is not as well received as in Europe, specifically in England. But Montfrey Stadium, good night. That place is absolutely gorgeous.
And you should see the new renderings for the new Crew Stadium right near Huntington Park. And oh my gosh, I mean, if you think Montfrey's gorgeous, I mean, this place is immaculate. So it's like they're going to have it starting 2021. I know they're going to be working hard over the winter to try to secure that place. But Montfrey, I mean, Eric and I have seen plenty of the crew games, postseason games. We were actually down there for the quickest goal in MLS history. They had 7 seconds. They scored against the Red Bulls in the Eastern Conference Final, and man, that was a crazy atmosphere there. I mean, when you have about 30,000 plus, around you, it keeps you warm in 30-degree weather. So.
No question. John Vargo, our guest. Okay, John, let's talk a little basketball. YSU, the women, it was recruiting day, and they picked up some pretty nice talent. Now, granted, the only player that they picked up from outside of the area close to us was Athena Hosever from West Yaga. Which is south and east of Cleveland. But the other kids that they picked up, they went outside the state of Ohio for the recruiting.
Well, and John Barnes is starting to make headroads into Wisconsin, which is a good thing because, I mean, you have some really good talented players in the Wisconsin area. I think it's also impressive. You're looking at players that are from Indiana, as we all well know that Indiana has very talented players in basketball. So I mean, that's something you just think about, there. But I know a lot of people are probably wondering why. It's like you saw Faith Birch going to Cleveland State, a girl from Western Reserve going to Robert Morris. And sometimes, Ron, I know people think it's like, well, why did they keep those kids at home? Why did they stay there at home? Sometimes it's just not a fit. As I was told years ago when John Robick was here, and he and I sat down and talked. And sometimes, when you have players and, you'd love to keep players at home, but if they're not the right fit in what you need for a program, because YSU, especially the women's side, you need shooters. You need players who are able to, not only play inside, but able to, exert themselves through the three-point arc as well.
Absolutely, and it's easy to sit back for people to say, "Oh my goodness, you're missing out on this talent." Well, one of the other reasons that might be in the fold, some of those kids may very well just want to get away from the area and be on their own.
Exactly. Because I know when I left high school, it's like the first thing I wanted to do was get the heck out of the state. So it's like, I mean, I didn't. I eventually took a job out. My first full-time job was out of state. So, but things happen, and that's what we do. So, but yeah. So it is. It's depending on what the kids want. What direction they want, and again, what the program needs too. So,
John Vargo, our guest on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline. The Horizon League had their meetings, and they've gone through the scheduling. We've talked a little bit about that with Rob Schmidt, but the men are predicted to have a unbelievably good year. The women, not as successful as the men in terms of where they're supposed to finish. But again, these are all predictions. Honestly, John, I'll be disappointed if both teams don't finish in the top three.
Well, here's the thing about the women's team. You have a. And I think we've talked about this before. You have a lot of freshmen. You have a lot of sophomores there on the YSU team. Some of them did, some of those sophomores did see a lot of playing time last year due to injuries. But you also have, you don't really have too much of a junior class. You don't have that middle mix. You either have one spectrum or the other as far as, as classes go for YSU women. So, but you have some very talented players. You have a Chelsea Olsen, you have McKenna Peters, you have Mary Dunn, coming back for this team. So, I mean, you have a good core there. But how the other, teammates can mesh and make things work this year is going to be a telltale sign, especially early on for this YSU women's team.
Well, and the other thing that I think that there's not a lot of people outside of Youngstown that are aware of this, and I think that they're going to be aware of it the first time they play Youngstown State. The inside-outside game that YSU has the potential of possessing this year in women's basketball. we haven't seen anything like this in quite a while.
Yeah, and they have these, and they build it off of this each year, it's like, and if you've noticed, the 3-point shooters, it seems like almost every year you have a new, career leader in 3-point shots, so it's like, so that tells you, the depth, the ability of these shooters, coming into the program are just, unbelievable, and exactly what John Barnes is looking for these recruits here. So not only will you be playing inside, because, I'm seeing Mary Dunn, I'm seeing, and when Sarah Cash was here, they all had the green light to shoot from the 3-point arc.
No two ways about that. And then on the guys' side, there's just so much talent coming back. I think that when Jared Calhoun took this program over, and this is his fourth year, I think we're now finally starting to realize the vision that Coach Calhoun had when he brought, or when he came into Youngstown, and to his, I'm sure he'd be the first to admit this, that it's taken a little bit longer than what he originally thought. But man, there's some serious talent on this basketball team.
Oh yeah, and obviously you would like to see a couple more guys get on the ballot. I voted for a preseason team, and I'll be honest with you, Ron, I stacked it with all YSU players because the rest of the league just screws YSU as far as, these ballots go. So, they have no respect for them. They don't care about them. It's like they probably give you a lip service, whatever they need to. But the honest to God truth is that YSU is like the redheaded stepchild of the Horizon League. So I am just hoping, against hope, they can A, complete this season, and B, win this Horizon League title and finally get the much due respect they deserve.
Well, especially if they can be really, really solid the first 10 games of the season, where 8 of the first 10 are going to be on the road. Oh man, if Youngstown State can be 6-4 or 7-3 the first 10 games, we're in business.
Yeah, and that's going to be, and I would love, the people, maybe if you wanted to get a good look at this team, well, unfortunately, from what I've heard, fans aren't going to be allowed probably through the first of the year. So, and we'll see what happens from there. So, obviously, getting the ESPN Plus package or wherever you can find them is going to be imperative. If you want to catch Youngstown State. So, hopefully things change in that respect, and they actually will let fans come in sooner than later. So, but as far as basketball goes, if we get that MTE, getting Niagara, Eastern Michigan, the SIU Bolt, Edwardsville, having those teams in there is going to be a good indicator of, how this team goes, and especially that beginning part of the season. So, and I'd love to see how they fare against West Virginia this time around down there in Morgantown.
Should be a good time. Hey, John, safe travels to Mansfield. Best of luck to Cardinal Mooney and the soccer team, and hopefully we're bringing home a championship in the Valley. If Mooney wins tonight, the state championship game at Montfrey Stadium Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. We'll keep our fingers crossed, brother.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate it.
You got it. John Vargo from the Vindicator and the Tribune Chronicle. His son is the goalie for Cardinal Mooney, and John is also the beat reporter for the YSU men's and women's basketball program. All right, take a timeout, and we'll run down these questions. That Brian Tolnar has for me to ask you, the fans, and again, up for grabs. If you're able to answer one of these questions, up for grabs is a gift certificate for 18 holes plus a cart at Mill Creek. 18 holes with a cart at Mill Creek if you can answer one of these 4 questions. And, well, we will ask these questions coming up after this timeout. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Austintown. Back in a bit.
21 News.
Let's get right to our top story tonight.
More experienced reporters.
A new Wilmington restaurant.
GM Lordstown
telling more local stories.
We'll look at efforts. Boy is recovering from a broken
around our valley.
Community in Niles. We are here in Youngstown, right up.
Because you expect.
It's important for everyone. No place like home.
More local news.
In Mercer County Court.
21 News is our Valley's #1 local news.
Welcome home to a home made homier with Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods. Inspiration starts at BairdBrothers.com and is turned into reality when high-quality hardwoods are delivered right to your home. Baird Brothers has the latest design trends, shiplap and skinny lap interior siding, antique oak rustic flooring, and, well, you'll find them all at BairdBrothers.com. Ordered easily, delivered conveniently, enjoyed comfortably. BairdBrothers.com.
Attention football fans, order Coca's Pizza tailgate package for only $54.99. You'll receive 24 slices of our delicious cheese pizza, 20 jumbo wings, and 2 of our famous foot-long pepperoni rolls. Coca's Pizza, we serve it hot.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions.
WRS Insurance Solutions is a local independent agency that specializes in life, Medicare, long-term care, and disability products. Call us at 330-953-3722 or visit us at wrsinsuranceSolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Your Armstrong services are more important than ever. There are more and more connected devices in the home these days. To get the most out of your experience, you need a network that is always getting better. You deserve superior performance, and that's what Armstrong offers every day. Whether you're working from home, enjoying your favorite content together, or simply catching up while apart, count on Armstrong to keep you connected to what matters most.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years. I think whenever we go there, whatever car we're looking for, they have tremendous inventory.
If you're looking for people who care about you, Greenwood is the place to go.
You know, it's like family there. The girls know me in service. It's Miss Kim in the Tahoe.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
For heating, cooling, and indoor air quality, the Mahoning Valley trusts MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning, offering worry-free repair, service, and installation. Call MP Vivo today for a free estimate.
MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. We're your energy-efficient experts.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Ron Potesta with you. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. That's 330-886-0813. Okay, so Brian Solnar has left me 4 questions for you, the fans, to answer one of these questions. So if you're able to answer one of these questions correctly, you will get a gift certificate that allows you to play 18 holes at Mill Creek with a cart. So that's a pretty big value there. 18 holes with a cart. And it's pretty good value, like I said. It's if you can answer one of these questions, you can pick up a certificate for 18 holes of golf at Mill Creek. Whether you're going to use the 18 holes on the north course or the south course, that's up to you. And the golf cart is included. So here are the 4 questions. And feel free to give me a call on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline at 330-886-0813. All you got to do is answer one of the 4 questions. So if you are real confident that you can answer one of these questions, by all means, hit me up on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning hotline, 330-886-0813. Question number 1. Who was the first president to belong to the Augusta National Club? Who's the first president to belong to Augusta? That's question number 1. Question number 2, what are or were the 2 things on the property named for this president? It's kind of a continuation of question number 1, but they're separate. Again, question number 2, what are or were the 2 things on the property named for this president. Question number 3. Name the tree that the players and the media meet near the clubhouse. Name the tree that players and the media meet near the clubhouse. And question number 4, give me the nicknames that make up Amen Corner. And for those wondering, Amen Corner in Augusta is holes 11, 12, and 13. Question number 4, give me the nicknames that make up Amen Corner. So I need a nickname for the 11th hole, the 12th hole, and the 13th hole. If you know any of these 4 questions, shoot me up. Give me a call on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, 330-886-0813. With you till 3 o'clock, we're going to hopefully be able to give away some tickets. And again, anyone that can answer one of these questions will get a gift certificate for 18 holes at Augusta, which includes a golf cart. So if you want to try your hand at answering any of these 4 questions, you can give me a call on the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, 330-886-0813. Again, tonight we have the state semifinals in soccer, and it's going to be a little different with the weather, but you got to play through this stuff. Division II tonight at 7 o'clock. Over in Lexington High School, the Howland Tigers will be taking on Lima Shawnee. Howland has a record of 20 wins, no losses, and 1 draw. Lima Shawnee on the campaign, 17 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw. And, of course, in the postseason, there are no ties. You play 90 minutes of regulation, and if you don't have a winner, you go to 1 complete 15-minute overtime. If there's no winner, you go to a second 15-minute overtime. If there's no winner, you go to penalty kicks, and you go from there. Again, Howland will be taking on Lima Shawnee tonight from Lexington High School, 7 o'clock game time. Howland, 20 wins, no losses, 1 tie. Lima Shawnee, 17 wins, 2 losses, 1 draw. And we'll see what Howland can do. The winner of this game gets the winner of Albany Alexander and Tip City Tippecanoe. Tip City Tippecanoe was the team that Howland defeated, or was the team that beat Howland, I should say, in last year's state championship game. And I know that Howland would love to get an opportunity to get a little bit of revenge from last year. Howland 1 win away from a state championship appearance. Should they win tonight, Howland will play the state championship game at Mopfree Stadium, the home of the Columbus Crew, Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. Meanwhile, tonight in Mansfield, Cardinal Mooney will be playing Toledo Ottawa Hills. Cardinal Mooney, 15 wins, 2 losses, 4 draws. Toledo Ottawa Hills, 15 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. These 2 teams will be playing tonight for Mansfield High School at 7 p.m. The winner of this game gets the winner of the Wheelersburg-Cincinnati Marymount game. Both Wheelersburg and Marymount are undefeated, 21 wins, no losses. So if Mooney wins tonight, they will be playing an undefeated team for a Division III state championship. And again, if Mooney wins tonight, the state finals will be held at Mopfree Stadium on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. So best case scenario for this area, Mooney and Howland both win tonight, which would set up a day of soccer down in Columbus. The D3 soccer championship would be at 1 o'clock, and then D2 would be at 4 o'clock. So we would have back-to-back area teams in a state championship format. That's only if Mooney can beat Toledo Ottawa Hills and Howland can beat Lima Shawnee. If those two teams get their business taken care of, then we're looking at a all-day event on Saturday at Mop-Free Stadium. The D3 district. Good God, Ron. The D3 state championship would be played on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock. The D2 state championship game would be played at 4 o'clock. Of course, tomorrow night, not tomorrow night, Friday night. Friday night we have Division 7 state semifinal action from Paul Brown Tiger Stadium in Massillon. Warren JFK will be playing Newark Catholic. Hard to believe, but this will be the first time that these two teams have met in their school's history in football. It is really hard to believe these two teams, and they have been great programs, phenomenal programs. And since the playoffs started in 1972, I'm frankly stunned that these two teams have never played each other. So this will be the first ever meeting on a football field between Warren JFK and Newark Catholic, two of the elite programs in the state of Ohio doing battle Friday night from Massillon Paul Brown Tiger Stadium. That game will start at 7 o'clock. Now, here's the deal. Normally, we would have the video, the audio, the whole 9 yards, and it would be part of our pay-per-view package. But we're now at the point where Spectrum, who is the official television and cable television home of the OHSAA, Spectrum will now have all of the televised events. And by television, we can also throw in any events that are online that have to do with video. We're not allowed to do any video because of the deal that Spectrum has with the OHSAA. Look, they signed a contract to be the exclusive television video home of the Ohio High School Athletic Association, so hands are tied. So what we're going to do is do the audio version of it. And because it's audio, no charge whatsoever. Go to ysnlive.com and you will be able to hear the Warren JFK game against Newark Catholic Friday night from Massillon Paul Brown Tiger Stadium at 7 o'clock. Now, I do know that there are some people in the Mahoning Valley, a very small, tiny amount, probably about 5% of our area has the Spectrum cable. A lot of folks have Time Warner. A lot of folks have DirecTV. A lot of folks have Dish. A lot of folks have down in Columbiana County. It would be now I'm drawing a blank, but it's not Spectrum. There's only a tiny percentage of people in the Mahoning Valley that have Spectrum. So if you are one of those people that happens to have Spectrum, it's real simple. Here's what you do. You go to the game, the channel for the game, and you turn the sound down. Then you go to ysnlive.com and you push our sound up. That way, you're going to get our broadcasters broadcasting the game on ysnlive.com, and then you'll be able to see the game because the game is going to be broadcast television-wise on Spectrum. And for people that, and again, the very small majority or small minority of people in this Tri-County area that encompass Trumbull, Mahoning, and Columbiana counties, you folks, the small amount of people that have Spectrum, you'll be able to watch the state semifinals and state championship games in high school football. Just turn the sound down and then listen to YSN. That's probably the best way to do it. Friday nights, Warren JFK taking on Newark Catholic. These two teams will play each other for the first time in the history of these two illustrious programs. It is hard to believe these two teams have never played each other in football. We get the first meeting on Friday night at Massillon Paul Brown Tiger Stadium, the Division 7 state semifinals. The winner of this game will take on the winner of the Lima Central Catholic and New Bremen game. That game will be played at Wapakoneta High School, game time at 7 o'clock. State semifinals on Saturday nights. The Springfield Tigers will be taking on Beverly Fort Fry. A couple of teams that are 10-0 on the campaign. These two teams will be doing battle Saturday night from Zanesville High School in Zanesville. Game time at 7 o'clock. Again, Spectrum is going to be broadcasting every single semifinal and state championship game, D2 through 7, as well as the state championship game that will be played on Friday night in Division 1, Pickerington Central taking on Cincinnati St. Xavier. So your best bet is to go to ysnlive.com, and you can listen to the broadcast Saturday night. Springfield taking on Beverly Fort Fry, a couple of 10-0 teams doing battle from Zanesville High School. Again, to get to Zanesville, it's real simple. Take I-77 south, past Canton, past different areas, Amish country. You'll go about 5 miles past Cambridge. You'll run right into the I-70, I-77 exchange, the intersection. I-77, as everyone knows, goes north and south in the state of Ohio. I-70 goes east and west in the state of Ohio. Once you get to the 77 intersection and the 77 exit, you want to go 77 west toward Columbus. And you'll be on 77 approximately 10 miles, give or take 5 miles either direction, and then you'll run right into Zanesville. You'll just run right into Zanesville. What can I tell you? Springfield taking on Beverly Fort Fry, a couple of teams 10-0 from Zanesville High School on Saturday night. We'll have the game for you on ysnlive.com. Again, it's just audio. We will not have any video. That is not our decision. It is the state of Ohio's decision, what with the fact that Spectrum is the official television / internet video home of the Ohio High School Athletic Association. So because of that, we're just going to do audio, and obviously we will not charge anybody for the games. You can listen by going to ysnlive.com. Friday night at 7 o'clock, Warren JFK plays Newark Catholic. Saturday night, Beverly Fort Fry hooking up with our Springfield Tigers. If Springfield knocks off Beverly Fort Fry, they get the winner of Coldwater and Columbus Grove. And like Beverly Fort Fry and the Springfield Tigers, Coldwater and Columbus Grove are both 10-0. There's only 2 divisions in the entire state where every single regional champion encompassing the state semifinals is undefeated. Division 6, Beverly Fort Fry, Springfield, Coldwater, and Columbus Grove are all 10-0. And Division 5, Cincinnati, Roger Bacon is 10-0. Ironton is 10-0. Kirtland is 9-0. Tuntogany, Otsego is 10-0. So you'll have a undefeated state championship game in D6 as well as D5. The rest of the divisions, they all have at least one team that has suffered one loss. It's a little tidbit of information there for you. All right, 330-886-0813, the MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline, open for business. Again, your 4 questions that Brian Tolnar has left me to ask you, the fans. If you're able to answer one of these questions, you can get a gift certificate for 18 holes plus a cart at Mill Creek. Here are the 4 questions. All you need to do is answer one of these questions. Question number 1. Who was the first president to belong to the Augusta Golf Club? Who was the first president to belong and have a membership at Augusta? Question number 2. What are or were the 2 things on the property at Augusta named for the president? What are or were the 2 things on the property at Augusta named for this president? It's kind of a continuation of question number 1. Question number 1 again, who was the first president to belong to Augusta? All right, question number 3. Name the tree that the players and the media meet near the clubhouse. Name the tree that the players and the media meet near the clubhouse. And question number 4, give me the nicknames that make up Amen Corner. And for those wondering, Amen Corner are holes 11, 12, and 13 at Augusta. Give me the nicknames that make up Amen Corner. Hole number 11, hole number 12, and hole number 13 all have a nickname. Give me the nickname for each of these holes. If you're able to answer any of these 4 questions, you will pick up a gift certificate for 18 holes of golf plus a cart from Mill Creek. And again, that's a fantastic golden opportunity for you, the fans, to go golfing at a really, really nice golf course. All right, we're going to take a time out. On the other side, we'll take some phone calls. MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning Hotline open for business. 330-886-0813. Back in a bit.
It's storm season.
I think we're under the gun for some heavy storms over the next couple of hours.
And Storm Tracker 21 is ready.
This is probably the one we're keeping a closer eye on.
On air.
And locally, we're going to have a lot of eyes on our area.
Online.
All right, let's talk high-risk futurecast and the timing of this weather.
On social media and on our app.
Rain will come and go tomorrow. There'll be some dry intervals.
Stay ready with Storm Tracker 21.
The severe weather threat now through around sunset this evening.
Hi, I'm Colin Chupa. And I'm Kelsey Clem from K-Squared Marketing. Our boutique marketing firm specializes in media planning and buying, public relations, event marketing strategies, and strategic sponsorships. We can integrate our services with your existing game plan, or we can be your entire marketing team. Your goals, our game plan. Let's win together. Call K-Squared Marketing at 330-623-2730 or visit ksquared.marketing to learn more.
Hi everyone, this is DJ Yoakley with Your Sports Network. We appreciate your support of YSN and welcome you to the YSN family. Our broadcast streams are brought to you live at no cost to you by sponsors that are local to this community. Without the vision and generosity of our sponsors and partners, we would not be able to bring this game to you today. So please support the great businesses and leaders that are making this game possible. And if you're a business in need of great advertising and sponsorship opportunities, feel free to head over to our site for more information on the right fit for you. We are local, we are loyal, and we are live. We are YSN.
Ah, the details. Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods is one fine ride. Perfect cornering, superb handling, sporty and stylish, power to spare, plus awesome mileage. Yeah, jaw-droppingly beautiful lines and well appointed with luxurious trim. Put more oomph in your life and start beholding the molding. Find your home's fine hardwood at BairdBrothers.com.
No matter what the weather, be prepared with a reliable, efficient Ruud gas furnace or air conditioner from MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Call your energy-efficient expert, MP Vivo, today for a free estimate.
Here at MP Vivo, we rely on Ruud, and so should you.
Hi, this is Tommy Clem, owner of WRS Insurance Solutions, reminding you that it is open enrollment for Medicare.
Now through December 7th, those who qualify can visit our local independent agency by calling us at 330-953-3722 or visiting us at wrsinsurancesolutions.com to learn more.
Good luck to all the student athletes in the Valley.
Attention all football fans. If you can't see your team play, come and dine with us and watch it live at Boardman, Canfield, or Cortland. Or staying at home, we'll deliver right to your door. That's Coca's Pizza. We serve it hot.
2020 will be a season like we've never seen before. But 21 Sports and YSN will be there for every key moment. The plays, the players, and the stories that will headline this season. Delivered by 21 Sports and YSN.
Planning a project around your home or rental property? Trust the electrical service to the local experts with 62 years of serving the Mahoning Valley. Joe Dickey Electric is your local go-to source for responsive, reliable residential electrical work. From everyday maintenance and repairs to new installations, electrical upgrades, and safety inspections, no job is too big or too small. Call Joe Dickey Electric today, 800-549-3976, or visit DickeyElectric.com. That's DickeyElectric.com.
Myers Family Insurance knows the importance of a great team.
Our team continues to grow to help you with your Medicare and retirement needs.
The annual election period is here, so it's all hands on deck to make sure your plan still meets your needs for 2020.
Call us today.
You may find yourself in some difficulty this winter. Don't get whacked by high heating bills. Call Michael at MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning. Michael is a trusted friend who will be able to help you with many things, like getting a 95% high-efficiency furnace this winter from Rude. Michael relies on Rude, so should you. Call MP Vivo Heating and Air Conditioning for a free estimate, 330-259-0486, and take care of your heating and air situation.
I went to Greenwood Chevrolet because
I was really interested in looking at the tracks.
Because I wanted my dream truck.
Because I've been going there for 20 years.
I'm really happy that I went
to Greenwood Chevrolet.
Because they really went
the extra mile for me.
Now we're going the extra mile for you, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Point on YSNLive.com. Some breaking news, and it's not good if you're a Buckeye fan. Maryland football has decided to pause all team-related activities due to an elevated number of COVID-19 cases within the program. So Saturday's game between Ohio State and Maryland has been postponed. Again, Maryland football, and this was announced moments ago. Maryland football is pausing all team-related activities due to an elevated number of COVID-19 cases within the program. So Saturday's game between Ohio State and Maryland has been postponed. No updates and no word on whether or not that game is going to be made up. This also brings into tonight. Tonight, Governor DeWine is going to be making an announcement. Now, we have no knowledge of what Governor DeWine is going to say, but it's pretty clear that the COVID cases are starting to go a little bit higher than what we've ever seen before. And I'm going to be real curious to see what Governor DeWine is planning on telling the state of Ohio. And I don't want to push the alarm because we don't have any knowledge of anything around here. It would be pure speculation. But would it really surprise anyone if Governor DeWine were to tell everyone, hey, by the way, we're shutting everything down again? I would hope not. But this happened in the state semifinals in basketball for girls and in the regional tournament for the guys. God, I hope this doesn't happen again, especially for the sake of the two programs that are left for our area, but all of the programs that are left. And again, we have no knowledge of anything that's going on, and obviously, we're all at the mercy of Governor DeWine and what he is going to announce. And let this just be mentioned. It's been mentioned more than a few times. The OHSAA has been doing everything with the backing of Governor DeWine. In other words, the state of Ohio, Governor DeWine, and the folks that are calling the shots, they're calling the shots for everything, including the Ohio High School Athletic Association. So tonight, I'm really, really hoping, fingers crossed, I'm really hoping that when Governor DeWine makes his whatever proclamation he's planning on making tonight, that it doesn't have anything to do with the sports aspect of this. I hope, I really, really hope that we're going to be able to have a conclusion for soccer as well as football and all the other fall sports. I hope that we do have a conclusion. But truth be told, Governor DeWine, he's making the announcement tonight. And we don't know what the announcement is, but I am really hoping that we have the ability to finish out the fall sports year. And it dawns on me that, about this time, late in the basketball season, we had the hammer drop by Governor DeWine when the stuff started getting really out of control. And here we go again. Governor DeWine will speak to the state of Ohio tonight, and fingers crossed, because it would be a damn shame if we could not finish the fall season, whether it be volleyball, whether it be boys and girls soccer, whether it be football. It would be an absolute travesty if we weren't able to finish out the fall season and the fall tournaments throughout the state of Ohio. But again, the big news broke moments ago. The Ohio State-Maryland game has been canceled for Saturday. Maryland football is pausing all team-related activities. This is due to an elevated number of COVID-19 cases within the program. That's not the only major college game that has been postponed. Down in the Southeastern Conference, Alabama's game against LSU was postponed, and I believe there's one other game in the SEC, and I think it's Texas A&M. Their game has been postponed as well. No word on if this game is going to be made up. No word on what is going to transpire between now and the end of the season. Texas A&M and Tennessee. That game was to have been played in Knoxville. That game is postponed due to a COVID outbreak. Alabama was to have played a game on Saturday in Baton Rouge. That game has also been postponed. And now Ohio State's game against Maryland, which was set for 3:30 Saturday afternoon, that game has been postponed as well. So we will most definitely keep you updated on what is going on with everything in the state of Ohio and whatnot. But Governor DeWine is addressing the state tonight, and keep your fingers crossed, kids. Keep your fingers crossed that we're going to be able to conclude the football, soccer, and volleyball state championships. All right, we'll take a final timeout and be back to wrap this bad boy up. It's a Wednesday edition of Running Point on ysnlive.com.
Baird Brothers remains your source for fine hardwood products. For the time being, we're open for customer pickup only on weekdays, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and Saturday from 9 a.m. till noon. Place your order online at BairdBrothers.com. Baird Brothers, for the place you love.
Quality, customer service, and integrity. Those are the 4 words that have driven our success since 1957 at Joe Dickey Electric.
Joe Dickey Electric is one Mahoning Valley landmark business that stays current with the requirements of our customers. Family owned and managed, we are an electrical contractor and energy solutions provider. Every member of our team adds to his or her skill set through ongoing training. Residential, commercial, industrial, automotive, and more. We keep ahead of the needs of our customers with a fleet of more than 50 vehicles and 24/7 emergency service, so you're never left in the dark.
The 4M Company, being an architect and construction manager for over 40 years, has had the opportunity to use many different electrical businesses for our projects. The depth, quality, and knowledge and attention to detail displayed by Dickey Electric makes them stand out above all the rest.
For state-of-the-art expertise and a timeless commitment to our customers, contact Joe Dickey Electric. We are everything electrical.
Armstrong Local Programming has always delivered an exclusive and unique perspective on the very best events your region offers. High school sports, community events, parades, all your favorite shows from Armstrong are now calling the Neighborhood Channel their home.
Watch Out and About, Locally Speaking, and many other great local shows right here on the Armstrong Neighborhood Channel.
Find out everything that the Neighborhood Channel has to offer at ArmstrongNeighborhood.com. Spirit, town pride, local communities. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Right now is a great time to get more for your trade-in at Tri-State Ford and drive home in a new or pre-owned vehicle. Choose from our great selection of new Ford models or pre-owned vehicles. Plus, get the Tri-State Ford Advantage, including a 10-year, 200,000-mile warranty and more. At Tri-State Ford, we'll pay you top dollar for your trade, but you don't have to purchase one of ours to sell us yours.
Customer focus, community driven. Tri-State Ford East Liverpool or visit tristateford.net.
Welcome back to a Wednesday edition of Running Points on YSNLive.com, presented by Greenwood Chevrolet on Mahoning Avenue in Youngstown. Tonight, best of luck to Cardinal Mooney and Howland as they represent the area in the boys soccer state semifinals. Cardinal Mooney will be playing Toledo Ottawa Hills tonight from Mansfield High School. That game starts at 7 o'clock. A trip to the Division III state championship is on the line for Cardinal Mooney and Toledo Ottawa Hills. 7 o'clock game time tonight from Mansfield High School. Howland will be taking on Lima Shawnee High School from Lexington tonight at 7 o'clock. The Howland Tigers and Lima Shawnee, a trip to the D2 state championship is on the line. Should Mooney and Howland both win tonight, they will both be playing in a state title game Saturday afternoon from Mopfree Stadium. That is the home of the Columbus Crew. Cardinal Mooney's game would start first. The Division III state championship starts at 1 o'clock on Saturday afternoon. If Mooney wins, they would take on the winner of Wheelersburg and Cincinnati Marymount. If Howland wins tonight, they'll play on Saturday afternoon at 4 o'clock. The Division II state championship. And Howland, if they win tonight, would take on the winner of Albany Alexander and Tip City Tippecanoe. Tip City Tippecanoe beat Howland in the state championship last year, and I know Howland would love to get a little bit of revenge this year. Again, Howland needs to knock off Lima Shawnee first tonight at 7 o'clock. So best of luck to Howland and to Cardinal Mooney. Before we get out of here and make way for DJ and the boys with Power Hour, today is November the 11th. It is Veterans Day. Many people in my family have served. Again, Veterans Day, we pay homage to the living members or former members of the military. Memorial Day, we pay homage to those that have passed away. It is Veterans Day. Many thanks to those who have served or are currently serving in the armed forces. Yesterday, we celebrated the 245th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. Today, we celebrate you, the veterans. You're the reason why we have freedom in this country. You're the reason why our country is spectacular. And salute you guys and women in the armed forces, those that are currently serving and those that have served. That'll do it for the show. Stick around. Power Hour is coming up momentarily. DJ and the fellas will have lots to talk about on this Wednesday. We'll talk tomorrow, noon to 3, Running Point.